When a $40 scanner catches what million-dollar machines miss, someone's about to die. That's exactly what happened when Ryan Carter walked into Sterling Apex Technologies on the worst morning of his life. While Silicon Valley's golden CEO prepared to launch a vehicle worth more than most people earn in a lifetime, a single father with dirt under his fingernails saw something nobody else could see. And when the rich and powerful laughed at him in front of his 6-year-old daughter, he had a choice: walk away and let it happen, or risk everything to save a child he'd never met. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The scanner was dying. Ryan Carter held the thing up to the fluorescent lights of the Sterling Apex Technologies parking lot, watching the cracked LCD screen flicker like a heart monitor on its last legs. $40 at a pawn shop 3 years ago, held together with electrical tape and prayers, the kind of tool that made real technicians laugh and real mechanics nod with understanding. "Daddy, is it broken?" Emma asked from the passenger seat of his pickup truck, her stuffed bear pressed against the window. "Not yet, baby girl." Ryan lowered the scanner and looked at his daughter through the truck's open door. 6 years old, brown hair and 2 uneven pigtails because he still couldn't get them right, no matter how many YouTube videos he watched. "Just getting old like your old man." "You're not old. You're 32. That's young." "Where'd you learn that?" "Miss Henderson said 30 is young. She's 34. Ryan smiled despite the knot in his stomach. Emma's teacher. The one who'd pulled him aside last week to gently suggest that maybe Emma needed new shoes. The ones she wore had holes in the soles. He knew. He'd been saving for 3 months. "Stay in the truck, okay? Lock the doors. I'll be 20 minutes, maybe 30. "Can I come inside? I want to see the fancy building." "Not this time. These people—" Ryan hesitated. "They don't like kids running around. I'll be quick." He shut the door before she could argue, heard the click of the locks, and turned toward the glass and steel monument to corporate America that was Sterling Apex Technologies' headquarters. 15 stories of architectural intimidation, the kind of building designed to make people like him feel small before they even walked through the doors. His phone buzzed, a text from Marcus, the facilities manager who'd hired him for this job. "Cooling system in Bay 3. Should be quick. Use the service entrance. They've got some big event today." Ryan texted back, "On it." He grabbed his toolbox from the truck bed, 23 pounds of borrowed equipment and improvised repairs. The handle had been replaced twice. The latches didn't match. But everything inside worked, and in his world, that's all that mattered. The service entrance was around back, past the executive parking lot, where cars cost more than houses. Tesla, Porsche, something Italian he couldn't pronounce. Every vehicle spotless, gleaming, worth more than every job he'd worked this year combined. Ryan kept walking. Inside, the service corridor smelled like fresh paint and floor polish. Everything pristine, everything expensive. He'd worked in places like this before, back when he wore different clothes and people called him Dr. Carter instead of the repair guy. That life was gone now. He found Bay 3 on the second level. The cooling system panel was behind a locked maintenance door that Marcus had left open for him. Standard commercial HVAC. He could fix this blindfolded, but as he approached the access panel, he saw something else. The bay itself was massive, 50 feet high, 100 feet wide, with observation windows overlooking some kind of vehicle testing area below. And in the center of that testing floor sat something that made him stop mid-step. The prototype. He'd seen it on the news 3 weeks ago. Sterling Apex's revolutionary autonomous rescue vehicle, designed to navigate disaster zones, extract injured victims, operate in conditions too dangerous for human first responders. The reporter had called it the future of emergency response. The price tag was somewhere north of $12 million. It looked like a Mars rover crossed with an armored ambulance. 6 wheels, each the size of a tractor tire. Matte black composite armor plating. A sealed rescue compartment in the center with enough medical equipment to run a small emergency room. Sensor arrays that probably cost more than Ryan's entire truck. And there were people everywhere. Engineers in clean room suits running diagnostics. Media crews setting up cameras. A woman in a $2,000 suit talking intensely on her phone while gesturing at a presentation screen. More suits arriving by the minute, all of them moving with the urgent energy of people about to make a lot of money. Ryan turned back to the cooling system, not his business. Fix the AC, collect the check, get back to Emma. But something was wrong. He felt it before he understood it. The kind of wrongness that lives in the back of your brain when you've spent 15 years learning how things break. A smell that didn't belong. A sound that wasn't quite right. He opened the cooling system panel. Everything looked normal. Compressor running smooth, refrigerant levels good, airflow optimal. But the smell was still there. Ryan pulled out his scanner. The screen flickered to life, showing a thermal readout of the cooling system. All green, all normal. He was about to put it away when he made the mistake of pointing it toward the testing floor below. The scanner started beeping, not the steady beep of normal operation. The rapid, insistent beep that meant heat where heat shouldn't be. The beep that meant danger. Ryan leaned against the observation window and adjusted the scanner's focus. The prototype vehicle showed normal temperatures across most of its surface. Engine compartment warm, but within parameters. Cabin systems running cool. Sensor arrays barely registering. But there. Lower chassis, rear quadrant, a small thermal signature that pulsed with every power cycle. Probably nothing. Probably normal. Probably just some component doing its job. Except Ryan had built electric vehicles for 8 years before his life fell apart. He'd designed safety systems for autonomous platforms. He'd investigated thermal failures that killed 3 people in a battery fire in Nevada. And he knew what battery thermal runaway looked like before it became visible. The signature on his scanner matched that pattern. He needed to tell someone. But who? The woman in the expensive suit? The engineers who looked like they'd call security if a maintenance worker tried to talk to them? Ryan checked his watch. Emma had been alone in the truck for 12 minutes. He'd promised 20, maybe 30. Just fix the cooling system and leave. But the beeping wouldn't stop. He pulled out his phone and took a photo of the scanner's readout. Then he descended the service stairs to the testing floor, carrying his toolbox like armor and hoping nobody would notice him. Everyone noticed him. The testing bay went quiet as he stepped onto the polished concrete floor. 20 pairs of eyes turned to look at the guy in work boots and a flannel shirt that had seen better years. The guy who clearly didn't belong. A young engineer approached, clean room suit, clipboard, name tag that said Mitchell Santos, Junior Systems Engineer. Can I help you? Polite but firm. The tone people use when they're about to ask you to leave. I'm Ryan Carter. I'm here to fix the cooling system in Bay 3, but I think you might have a problem with the vehicle. Mitchell's expression shifted from polite to concerned. What kind of problem? Ryan held up the scanner. Thermal signature in the lower chassis, rear quadrant near the battery compartment. Could be a compressed wire or a short circuit. Hard to tell from this distance, but who let you in here? The voice came from behind. Ryan turned to see a man in his 40s, gray suit, expensive watch, and the kind of face that had learned early how to look down on people. I'm working on the cooling system, Ryan said. Marcus hired me. Marcus hired you to fix air conditioning, not to scan our prototype vehicle with... The man looked at Ryan's scanner with visible disdain. What is that? A thermal camera from a hardware store? Pawn shop, actually, but it works. And it's showing a heat signature that our diagnostic systems cost more than you make in a year. If there was a problem, we'd know about it. Ryan kept his voice level. Those diagnostic systems might not be looking in the right place. This signature is small, but it's pulsing with the power cycles. That's usually a sign of, I'm going to stop you right there. The man crossed his arms. I'm Daniel Reeves, lead systems engineer on this project. I've got 3 degrees from MIT and 15 years of experience building autonomous platforms. Our vehicle has been through 6 months of testing. Every component has been analyzed, stress tested, and certified safe. Now, I appreciate your concern, but I think you should get back to fixing whatever you were hired to fix. Other engineers had gathered around now. Some looked curious. Most looked annoyed. All of them clearly agreed with Daniel. Ryan felt the familiar weight of being dismissed, the same weight he'd carried for 3 years, ever since he'd stopped being someone people listened to. I understand, he said quietly, but if you could just take a quick look. We don't have time for quick looks. We have a live demonstration starting in 3 hours. Investors, hospital administrators, media coverage. The governor's supposed to make an appearance. So unless you can show me something more than a blurry reading from a $40 scanner, I need you to go back to whatever Marcus hired you for. Ryan nodded, started to turn away. Then he saw the child, a boy, maybe 12 years old, standing with a woman who must have been his mother. The kid wore a hospital bracelet, pale skin, tired eyes, the kind of exhaustion that comes from fighting something bigger than yourself. And he was smiling at the prototype vehicle like it was the coolest thing he'd ever seen. "Mr. Reeves?" A woman's voice, sharp with authority. Everyone turned. She was 30, maybe 31. Dark hair pulled back in a style that probably took 10 minutes to make look effortless. Suit that cost more than Ryan's truck. Eyes that had learned to command rooms before most people learned to command respect. Natalie Brooks, CEO. Ryan had seen her on the news. "Is there a problem?" she asked, looking directly at Ryan. Daniel stepped forward. "Just a maintenance worker who thinks he found something wrong with the prototype. I've explained that our systems show everything normal." Natalie's gaze didn't leave Ryan's face. "What did you find?" Ryan held up the scanner, knowing how it looked. Knowing how he looked. Thermal signature in the lower chassis. It's small, but it's pulsing. That usually means electrical resistance building up somewhere. Could be nothing. But if it's near the battery compartment, it could... "Our diagnostic suite is worth $2.3 million, Natalie said. Her voice wasn't angry, just factual. It monitors every component in real time. Battery temperature, voltage stability, thermal distribution. If there was a fault, we'd see it. Unless the fault is in a location your sensors don't cover. Our sensors cover everything. Respectfully, ma'am, no system covers everything. There are always blind spots, physical constraints, places where sensors can't reach or aren't designed to look." Natalie studied him for a long moment. Around them, the testing bay had gone completely silent. "What's your background?" she asked. Ryan hesitated. This was the part where he either lied or told the truth, and watched her expression change from curiosity to pity. "I used to work in electric vehicle safety," he said. Before what? Before I had other priorities." It wasn't a real answer, and they both knew it, but Natalie didn't push. "Show me," she said. Daniel stepped forward. "Natalie, we've got 3 hours until the demonstration. We can't delay testing because He caught himself. "Because someone with a consumer-grade scanner thinks he sees something our million-dollar systems missed." I said, "Show me." The tone left no room for argument. Ryan approached the prototype, aware of every eye on him. Mitchell and 2 other engineers followed, along with Natalie and Daniel. The closer he got to the vehicle, the faster his scanner beeped. He walked slowly along the chassis, tracking the thermal signature. The rear section, lower panel, right where the battery compartment's support structure met the main frame. "Here," he said, pointing to a panel seam. "The heat's coming from inside, behind this panel. That panel covers the battery's structural support bracket," Mitchell said. "There's no electrical components back there, just mounting hardware." "Can you remove it?" Daniel shook his head. "That panel is part of the vehicle's integrity structure. Removing it requires recertification of the entire frame. We don't have time. If there's a compressed wire or a short circuit building heat..." "There isn't." Daniel's patience was gone. "Look, I understand you're trying to help, but this vehicle has been through more testing than you can imagine. Every wire has been traced, every connection verified, every thermal pathway mapped. If there was a problem, our systems would have caught it." Ryan looked at Natalie. "That kid over there, is he going to be inside the vehicle during the demonstration?" "That's Tyler Brennan," Natalie said. "He's a cancer patient from Children's Hospital. Riding in the rescue compartment is part of the demonstration. We're showing how the vehicle can safely transport critical patients. And if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. But if it does?" Natalie's expression hardened. "Mr. Carter, I appreciate your concern. I really do. But we've invested 3 years and $40 million into this project. We've run every test, checked every system, brought in the best engineers money can buy. Now, I understand you're just trying to be thorough. That's admirable. But what you're holding is a $40 thermal camera that's older than my car, and what we're using is technology that most hospitals can't afford. So I'm going to trust our systems. I'm going to trust our engineers. And I'm going to ask you to go back to fixing the air conditioning you were hired to fix. Teat." Around them, several engineers nodded. One actually smirked. Ryan felt something twist in his chest. Not anger, something colder. Recognition. He'd been here before. Different building, different people, same dismissal. Understood, he said quietly. He was turning to leave when Emma's voice came from behind him. Daddy? His heart dropped. Emma stood at the edge of the testing bay, security guard beside her, looking small and uncertain in a room full of expensive things and expensive people. Miss, you can't be in here, the guard started. That's my daughter, Ryan said quickly, moving toward her. Emma, I told you to stay in the truck. You were gone a long time. I got scared. I know, baby. I'm sorry. We're leaving now. But Emma was looking past him at the prototype vehicle, eyes wide with wonder. Wow, is that a robot? Sort of, Ryan said. Come on, let's… Mr. Carter. Natalie's voice stopped him. She was looking at Emma with an expression Ryan couldn't quite read. Is your daughter the reason you're so concerned about the vehicle's safety? Ryan met her eyes. I'm concerned because a 12-year-old kid is about to climb inside a machine that might have a thermal fault. Whether I have a daughter or not doesn't change the physics. The physics are fine. Then let me do one more scan. 3 minutes. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize and leave. If I'm right, he looked at Tyler, still smiling at the prototype. If I'm right, you'll thank me. Natalie glanced at her watch, at the gathered engineers, at the investors starting to arrive on the upper observation deck. Daniel, she said, your assessment. He's wrong, Daniel said flatly. Our systems show nominal across the board. This is a waste of time. Natalie. A new voice. Older man, silver hair, suit that cost more than Ryan's truck and toolbox combined. He descended from the observation deck with the confidence of someone who owned things. We need to keep moving. Cameras in 2 hours. Victor, Natalie said. This is… I heard. Victor Lang looked at Ryan the way people look at things they're about to step over. The maintenance worker with the toy scanner. Natalie, we've been through this. The vehicle is safe. We've tested everything. Now please, let's not derail a $40 million launch because someone who fixes air conditioners thinks he knows more than our engineering team. Emma pressed closer to Ryan's leg, and something in him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just the quiet snap of a man who'd been pushed too far while his daughter watched. 3 minutes, he said. That's all I'm asking. 3 minutes to verify what your expensive systems might have missed. If I'm wrong, you'll never see me again. If I'm right, you'll prevent a disaster that'll cost you a lot more than 3 minutes. We don't have… Victor started. Do it, Natalie's voice cut through the room. She was looking at Emma now, something shifting in her expression. 3 minutes, Mr. Carter. Show us what you think you found. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he nodded to Mitchell. Get the panel access kit. Let's get this over with. Ryan knelt beside Emma. Stay right here, okay? Don't move. I'll be right there. He pointed to the prototype. Are you going to fix the robot? Maybe. We'll see. He stood and followed Mitchell to the vehicle's rear section. 2 other engineers brought equipment, diagnostic tablets, calibration tools. All of it newer and shinier than anything Ryan owned. Walk us through what you're seeing, Natalie said. She'd moved closer, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Ryan held up his scanner. The thermal signature pulses every 15 seconds. That's synchronized with your vehicle's main power cycle. Something back there is drawing current and generating heat. Not a lot. Maybe 5 or 6 degrees above ambient, but it's consistent and it's growing. Our battery management system would detect that, Daniel said, unless it's outside the battery management system's monitoring zone, in the support structure, or the mounting bracket. There's no active components in the mounting bracket. There shouldn't be, but wires run through there, right? Power distribution lines, ground paths, control signals. Mitchell checked his tablet. Yeah, standard routing, nothing unusual. Can we see them? Daniel sighed. Remove panel 7B. 2 engineers moved in with power tools. The panel came away with practiced efficiency, revealing the vehicle's internal structure. Carbon fiber supports, aluminum cross members, and running through it all, bundles of color-coded wiring wrapped in protective conduit. Everything looked normal. Satisfied? Victor said from behind them. Ryan ignored him. He adjusted the scanner's focus, moving it slowly across the exposed structure. The beeping intensified. There, he said, pointing to a section where 3 wire bundles converged near a mounting point. Behind that bracket, something's compressed. Mitchell leaned in with a flashlight. I don't see anything. You won't. Not from this angle. You need to remove the bracket. That bracket is load-bearing, Daniel said. Removing it requires temporary support posts, Ryan said. Standard procedure. Takes 10 minutes. Natalie checked her watch. You've got 7 minutes left of your 3 minutes, Mr. Carter. Make it count. The engineers worked fast. Ryan had to give them that. Support posts in place. Mounting bolts removed. Bracket lifted clear. And there it was. A section of high-voltage power distribution cable, compressed between two structural members that had shifted during assembly. The cable's insulation was intact, but barely. The compression point showed thermal stress marks, the kind that appear right before insulation fails and bare conductors make contact with the frame, the kind that causes battery fires. Mitchell saw it first. His face went pale. Oh shit. Daniel moved in, tablet in hand, running diagnostics. His expression changed from skepticism to concern to something close to fear. That cable feeds the rescue compartment's life support system, he said quietly. If it had shorted during operation, the current would have jumped to the frame, Ryan finished, and from there to the battery compartment, thermal runaway, fire, possibly explosion. With Tyler inside, Natalie said. Her voice had gone flat. With Tyler inside, Ryan confirmed. The testing bay was silent except for the hum of diagnostic equipment and the distant sound of people gathering on the upper observation deck. Victor was the first to speak. How did our systems miss this? Because your sensors monitor component temperatures, Ryan said. Battery cells, power regulators, motor controllers. But this fault is in the structural pathway, between monitoring zones. Your system probably logged it as minor ambient variation. We should have caught it during assembly inspection, Mitchell said. Maybe, but if the compression happened after inspection, during transport or final testing, nobody would have noticed until it failed. Daniel was already on his phone calling other engineers. Mitchell was documenting everything with his tablet. 3 more people appeared with equipment Ryan didn't recognize. Natalie stood very still, looking at the compressed cable like it was a snake. How long until it would have failed? She asked. Ryan checked his scanner. Hard to say exactly, but the temperature's been climbing. I'd guess somewhere between 10 minutes and an hour after full system activation. The demonstration runs 90 minutes. Then Tyler wouldn't have made it halfway through. Victor's phone was out now too, his voice urgent but controlled. Cancel the media setup. Delay the investor presentation. Tell the governor's office we're rescheduling. Natalie didn't move. She was still staring at the cable. Ryan gathered his equipment. You'll want to check the other 7 vehicles in your production line. If this happened during assembly or transport, it could have happened to the others. We only have 1 prototype, Daniel said. The news said you had 8 vehicles in production. That was aspirational. We've got 1 working prototype and 7 in various stages of assembly. Ryan nodded. Check them anyway, and update your inspection protocol to include structural compression points. He turned to leave. Mr. Carter? Natalie's voice stopped him. I need to speak with you. My daughter's waiting. I know. This will only take a moment. Ryan looked at Emma, still standing where he'd left her, clutching her stuffed bear and watching everything with wide eyes. Emma? I'll be right there, okay? Okay, Daddy. Natalie led him away from the engineers to a quiet corner of the testing bay. Up close, Ryan could see the cracks in her professional composure, the tightness around her eyes, the way her hands were shaking just slightly. You just saved a child's life, she said. Your engineers would have caught it eventually. No, they wouldn't have. She looked back at the prototype. We were 20 minutes from starting final systems check. Tyler was supposed to board in 90 minutes. We wouldn't have caught it. Ryan said nothing. I dismissed you, Natalie continued, in front of your daughter. I implied you didn't know what you were doing. I trusted expensive equipment over experience. I almost killed a 12-year-old cancer patient because I was too arrogant to listen to someone who didn't fit my idea of what an expert looks like. You made a business decision based on available information. I made a mistake that almost cost a child his life. She met his eyes. I'm sorry. Not as a CEO, as a person. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry for what I said in front of your daughter. Ryan glanced at Emma again. She was talking to one of the younger engineers now, asking questions about the vehicle, getting answers that made her smile. She's 6, he said. She'll forget. Will you? Probably not. Natalie absorbed that. I'd like to hire you. Consulting role, safety review. Make sure we didn't miss anything else. I fix air conditioners. You built electric vehicles. I can tell by the way you diagnosed, the questions you asked, the way you understood the power distribution without looking at our schematics. She paused. Who were you before you were a maintenance worker? Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Someone different, he said finally. Someone who had a wife and a career and a life that made sense. Then I had a car accident that took two of those things away. So I became someone else. Someone who can be home when Emma gets off the school bus. Someone who can make her breakfast and help with her homework and make sure she knows that even when the world falls apart, her dad is still there. I'm sorry. Don't be. I have Emma. That's more than enough. The consulting role would be flexible. Remote work, your own hours, better pay than fixing cooling systems. I don't need better pay. I need to be there when my daughter needs me. The offer stands. Think about it. Ryan nodded, knowing he wouldn't. This wasn't his world anymore. Hadn't been for 3 years. He'd come to fix an air conditioner, found a fault nobody wanted to see, and now he just wanted to take his daughter home. But as he collected Emma and headed for the exit, he saw Tyler through the observation window. The kid who'd been smiling at the prototype. The kid who would have climbed inside a death trap in 90 minutes if a $40 scanner hadn't been in the right place at the right time. Tyler's mother had her arm around him. Neither of them knew how close it had been. Emma took Ryan's hand as they walked to the parking lot. Daddy, she said, those people were mean to you. They weren't mean, they just didn't understand. The lady in the fancy suit was mean. She told you to go fix air conditioners like you were stupid. Ryan stopped, looked down at his daughter. You heard that? I was watching from the door before the security man saw me. Emma, you're not stupid. You're the smartest person I know. Ryan knelt down, eye level with his daughter. Sometimes people judge others based on what they look like instead of what they know. It's not right, but it happens. Is that why you wear old clothes? I wear old clothes because new ones cost money we need for other things. Like my shoes? He smiled. Like your shoes? I don't need new shoes. These ones work fine. Emma, I'm serious. The holes aren't that big. Ryan pulled her into a hug, feeling her small arms wrap around his neck, her stuffed bear pressed between them. I love you, baby girl, he said. I love you too, Daddy. They drove home as the afternoon sun cut through Detroit's gray clouds. Emma fell asleep in the passenger seat, her bear in her lap, her worn shoes visible below the dashboard. Ryan thought about Natalie's offer, about Tyler's smile, about the cable that would have killed a child if a dying scanner hadn't caught it first, about the life he'd left behind and the life he'd built in its place. He didn't know that in 3 weeks his phone would ring with news that would pull him back into a world he'd abandoned. He didn't know that the damaged cable was just the beginning of something much larger and more dangerous. He didn't know that the quiet corner he'd carved out for himself and Emma was about to be torn apart by forces he couldn't control. All he knew was that Emma was safe. The truck was running, and tomorrow there would be another job, another invoice, another small step forward. It would have to be enough. Behind them, Sterling Apex Technologies began the long process of understanding how close they'd come to disaster. How a $40 scanner had seen what millions in technology had missed. How a single father in worn clothes had prevented a tragedy. And in her office on the 15th floor, Natalie Brooks sat alone, looking at the thermal scanner Ryan had left behind on a diagnostic cart. A piece of equipment worth less than her shoes. A tool that had saved everything. She picked it up, turned it over in her hands, saw the electrical tape holding the battery compartment closed. The scratched screen, the worn grip. She set it on her desk. And for the first time in her career, Natalie Brooks realized that the most expensive thing in the room wasn't worth a damn if you didn't know how to listen to the people who actually understood what they were looking at. The demonstration was postponed. The investors were furious. The media asked questions nobody wanted to answer. But Tyler Brennan went home with his mother, alive and unaware that he'd almost become a headline. And somewhere in Detroit, a single father tucked his daughter into bed, read her a story about brave knights and clever dragons, and fell asleep wondering if maybe, just maybe, he'd done something that mattered. The scanner's beeping had stopped, but the silence it left behind was just beginning to speak. The call came 18 days later at 6:47 in the morning while Ryan was burning toast. Emma sat at their small kitchen table, coloring a picture of what she claimed was a dinosaur, but looked more like a misshapen dog. The smoke detector hadn't gone off yet, which Ryan considered a minor victory, but the burnt smell was unmistakable. "Daddy, it's smoking again." "I know, baby. I'm handling it." His phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. Detroit area code. Ryan almost let it go to voicemail, but something made him answer. "This is Ryan. Mr. Carter, this is Natalie Brooks." Ryan turned off the stove, scraped the blackened bread into the trash. "Miss Brooks, didn't expect to hear from you again. I need to see you, today if possible. I'm kind of busy. I'll pay you $500 for 2 hours of your time, just to talk." Ryan looked at Emma's shoes by the door. The holes had gotten bigger. He'd been planning to buy new ones this weekend, but the Ford Explorer job had fallen through, and Mrs. Chen's refrigerator repair had only paid half of what he'd quoted. "When?" he asked. "Noon, Sterling Apex. I'll have a visitor's pass waiting at the front desk." "I have to pick up Emma from school at 3. You'll be done by 2:30, I promise." Ryan agreed, hung up, and made Emma new toast that only came out slightly brown. At 11:45, he pulled into the Sterling Apex parking lot in his truck that badly needed an oil change. The building looked the same as it had 3 weeks ago, glass and steel, and the kind of money that made his checking account feel like a rounding error. The front desk was different from the service entrance. Marble floors, leather furniture. A receptionist who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. "Ryan Carter," he said. "I have a—" "Mr. Carter, yes. Miss Brooks is expecting you." She handed him a visitor's badge that probably cost more to produce than he'd made yesterday. 15th floor. Her assistant will meet you at the elevator." The elevator played soft jazz and smelled like expensive cologne. Ryan watched the floor numbers climb and tried not to feel like he was entering enemy territory. The doors opened to reveal a woman in her 50s, gray suit, kind eyes. "Mr. Carter, I'm Patricia, Ms. Brooks' executive assistant. Please follow me." She led him through a maze of glass-walled offices and open workspaces where people did things with computers that probably moved millions of dollars around. Everyone looked busy. Everyone looked expensive. Natalie's office occupied the entire northwest corner, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Detroit, furniture that matched the building's aesthetic. And sitting on her desk, looking out of place among the sleek technology and modern art, was his scanner. The $40 pawn shop special with the cracked screen and electrical tape. "Mr. Carter." Natalie stood from behind her desk. Same professional appearance as before, but something was different. Tired, maybe. Or worried. "Thank you for coming. $500 is a lot of money for talking. Sit, please." Ryan sat in a chair that probably cost more than his couch. Natalie didn't sit. She moved to the windows, arms crossed, looking out at the city. "We found 3 more faults," she said. "In the prototype? In the production line. Different vehicles, different issues, but all of them potentially catastrophic. All of them in places our diagnostic systems weren't designed to check." She turned to face him. "You were right. Our sensors monitor components, not pathways. We've been so focused on the technology that we forgot about the basics." "You found them before anyone got hurt?" "Barely. One of the vehicles was scheduled for a hospital demonstration in Minneapolis next week. We would have put it in service. Someone would have died." Ryan said nothing. "I need you to review our entire production process," Natalie continued. "Every vehicle, every system, every assembly step. I need you to find what we're missing. You have engineers who can... Our engineers think like engineers. They trust the systems. They trust the data. They trust the expensive equipment." She gestured at the scanner on her desk. "You think like someone who's seen things fail. That's what I need. I fix air conditioners. You built electric vehicles for 8 years before your wife died. You worked for Titan Automotive. Senior safety systems engineer. You filed 17 patents, published 9 papers on battery thermal management. You were on track to become VP of safety engineering before you walked away." Ryan's jaw tightened. "You had me investigated. I had you researched. There's a difference." "Not to me. I needed to understand who you were, what you knew, why someone with your background was fixing cooling systems for $200 a day. You know why? You said it yourself. My wife died. 3 years ago, car accident, Interstate 75. Drunk driver crossed the median. She died instantly. You were in the hospital for 6 weeks. Emma was 2. You want me to leave? Because I'll leave. Natalie moved away from the window, sat on the edge of her desk. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to understand you. You had everything: career, reputation, money. Then you lost your wife and you walked away from all of it. Why? Ryan looked at the scanner, at his worn reflection in its cracked screen. Because Emma needed a father more than Titan Automotive needed another engineer, he said quietly. Because I couldn't do that job and be home when she had nightmares. Because every time I stayed late at the office, I was choosing machines over my daughter, and I'd already lost too much to keep making that choice. So you gave up your career. I traded it for something more important. Natalie was quiet for a moment. The consulting role I offered, it's still available. Full remote work, flexible hours, $75,000 a year to start. That's more than I make in a good year fixing things. I know, I've seen your tax returns. You really did investigate me. I need someone I can trust. Someone who'll tell me the truth even when it's expensive. Someone who cares more about doing the job right than keeping investors happy. She leaned forward. I need you, Mr. Carter. This company needs you, and I'm willing to pay you what you're worth. Ryan thought about Emma's shoes, about the truck's oil change, about the electric bill he'd been avoiding and the dentist appointment he'd been postponing. 2 conditions, he said. Name them. I work from home unless I absolutely have to be here, and I pick up my daughter from school every single day at 3 o'clock. No exceptions, no emergencies that can't wait until 3:30. Done. I'm serious. I don't care if the building's on fire. Emma comes first. I understand. Anything else? Ryan hesitated. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This. Hiring me, trusting me. You have engineers with degrees and experience, and I almost killed a child because I trusted degrees and experience more than I trusted judgment, Natalie said. Tyler Brennan goes to Children's Hospital 3 times a week for chemotherapy. His mother sent me a card thanking us for the wonderful demonstration he was supposed to be part of. She has no idea how close she came to burying her son because I was too arrogant to listen to a maintenance worker with a $40 scanner. She picked up the scanner from her desk. I keep this here to remind myself that the most valuable tools aren't always the most expensive ones, and the most valuable people aren't always the ones with the fanciest credentials. She set it back down. You saved that boy's life. Now I'm asking you to help me make sure we never put another child at risk. Can you do that? Ryan looked at her. Really looked at her. Past the expensive suit and the corner office and the CEO title. Saw someone who'd made a mistake and learned from it instead of hiding from it. Yeah, he said, I can do that. They spent the next 90 minutes going through production schedules, assembly protocols, and diagnostic procedures. Natalie pulled up files on her computer, showing him technical specifications and testing data. Ryan asked questions that made her engineers uncomfortable and pointed out assumptions that made her nervous. At 2:15, he stood to leave. I need to get Emma. Of course. We'll set up your remote access tomorrow. Patricia will handle the paperwork. Ryan was at the door when Natalie spoke again. Mr. Carter, thank you for coming back. You're paying me $75,000. I'd be an idiot not to come back. You know what I mean. He did, but he didn't know how to respond, so he just nodded and left. Emma was waiting at the usual spot when he pulled up to the school at 2:58. She climbed into the truck with her backpack and her stuffed bear and the perpetual mystery of where 6-year-olds got so much energy. Daddy, guess what? What, baby girl? Miss Henderson says we're learning about electricity next week. Can you help me with my project? What's the project? We have to make a circuit with a battery and a light bulb, but I told her my daddy knows everything about electricity, and she said maybe you could come talk to the class. Ryan smiled. Maybe. We'll see. That means yes, right? That means maybe. They stopped at the grocery store on the way home. Ryan had been planning to buy the store brand pasta and the dented cans from the discount shelf, but he found himself in the produce section picking out fresh vegetables and the chicken that wasn't on sale. Emma noticed. Daddy, that chicken costs more. I know. Are we rich now? No, baby, but we're doing a little better. Because of the robot place? Yeah, because of the robot place. At home, while Emma did homework at the kitchen table, Ryan logged into his email and found a message from Patricia with a contract attachment. He read it twice, then a third time, looking for the catch. There wasn't one. $75,000, full benefits, flexible schedule, remote work, everything Natalie had promised. He signed it electronically and sent it back before he could change his mind. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan sat at the same kitchen table and opened his laptop. The Sterling Apex server access credentials Patricia had sent him led to a portal with more technical data than he'd seen in 3 years. Production schedules, assembly documentation, component specifications, testing protocols, diagnostic logs, everything. He started with Vehicle 2, the one scheduled for Minneapolis, pulled up the assembly records, checked the diagnostic history, cross-referenced the sensor data with the physical inspection reports, found the first discrepancy at 11:37 p.m., a power routing decision that made sense on paper but created a potential thermal pathway between the battery management system and the structural frame. The sensors wouldn't catch it because it registered as normal ambient variation, but under sustained load over time, the heat would build. He documented it, moved to Vehicle 3, found 2 more issues by 1:15 a.m. He was on Vehicle 4 when his phone rang. Natalie, at 1:43 in the morning. "Tell me you're not still working," she said. "Tell me you're not still working. I'm the CEO. I'm always working. I'm the new consultant. I'm always working too, apparently." A pause. Then, "What did you find?" Ryan told her. The power routing issue, the thermal pathway, the 2 other problems in Vehicle 3. "How bad?" Natalie asked. "Not catastrophic, but not good. Vehicle 2 needs immediate rework before it goes anywhere near a hospital. Vehicle 3 needs component replacement and retesting. That's going to delay the Minneapolis demonstration. Would you rather delay it or explain to the media why your vehicle caught fire during a hospital evacuation drill?" Natalie was quiet. Then, "You're right. I'll call Minneapolis in the morning. Anything else?" "Vehicle 4 has a sensor calibration issue. Not dangerous, just sloppy. Someone rushed the final checkout. I'll talk to the assembly team." "Natalie? Can I call you Natalie?" "Please, don't talk to them. Send me the assembly supervisor's contact info. I'll talk to them. If this comes from the CEO, they'll get defensive. If it comes from another technician, they'll listen." Another pause. "You're probably right." "I know I'm right. I used to train assembly teams." "Before." "Yeah, before." "Mr. Carter, Ryan, can I ask you something personal?" "You already know everything personal about me. You read my tax returns." "Do you ever think about going back to the career you had?" Ryan looked around his small kitchen, at Emma's drawings on the refrigerator, at the stuffed bear sitting on the counter where she'd left it, at the life he'd built from the wreckage of the one he'd lost. "Every day," he said honestly. "But then Emma comes home from school and tells me about her day, and I remember why I made the choice I made. This isn't the life I planned, but it's the life I have. And most days, that's enough." "Most days? Some days are harder than others." "I can't imagine what you've been through. I hope you never have to." They talked for another 20 minutes about Vehicle 5's brake system, about the production timeline, about whether the diagnostic protocols needed complete overhaul or just targeted updates, professional topics, work topics. The kind of conversation Ryan hadn't had with anyone in 3 years. He didn't realize how much he'd missed it until after they'd hung up and the house was quiet again, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on the street outside. The next morning, Emma found him asleep at the kitchen table, laptop still open, coffee cold in its mug. "Daddy?" Ryan jerked awake. "What? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. It's 7 o'clock. We have to get ready for school." "Right, school. Sorry, baby. I was working late." "On the robots?" "On the robots." Emma climbed into his lap, careful not to disturb the laptop. "Are you fixing them?" "Trying to. They have some problems that need attention." "Like when our refrigerator stopped working and you had to fix it?" "Kind of like that. Except these robots are more expensive than our refrigerator." "Everything's more expensive than our refrigerator, Daddy. It's really old." Ryan laughed despite his exhaustion. You're not wrong. Over the next week, Ryan fell into a rhythm. Wake up at 6:30, get Emma ready for school, drop her off at 8:15, work until 2:45, pick her up at 3, homework and dinner and bedtime routine. Then back to work from 9 p.m. until whenever his eyes couldn't focus anymore. He found problems in 6 of the 7 vehicles, some minor, some significant. All of them things the diagnostic systems had missed because they weren't designed to look in the right places. On Thursday, Natalie called him at 10:30 p.m. Vehicle 7's clean, he said before she could ask. No issues. Whoever assembled that one actually followed the protocols. That's because I assembled most of Vehicle 7 myself, Natalie said. You what? Last year, before we had a full production team, I wanted to understand the build process firsthand. Spent 3 months on the assembly floor. You're a CEO who knows how to build the product you're selling. Is that unusual? In my experience? Yeah. Most executives I've met couldn't tell you which end of a wrench to hold. I'll take that as a compliment. It was meant as one. Another pause. Comfortable this time. The kind of silence that happens between people who are starting to understand each other. Ryan, Natalie said, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Are you happy doing this work? Ryan looked at his laptop screen, at the technical diagrams and sensor logs and assembly protocols, at work that challenged him, at problems that mattered. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Good. Because I want to bring you on site next week, show you the production floor, introduce you to the engineering team properly, let you see the operation firsthand. I don't need to eat. I know you don't need to, but it would help. And I think the team needs to meet you, understand who you are, what you bring to the table. Some of them won't like it. I embarrassed them. Some of them needed to be embarrassed, Daniel especially. How's he handling all this? Better than expected. He's actually the one who suggested bringing you on site, says he wants to learn from you. Ryan wasn't sure he believed that, but he agreed anyway. They set it up for Tuesday, 4 hours. Emma would be at school. He'd be done by 2. On Tuesday morning, Ryan put on clothes that weren't covered in grease stains and drove to Sterling Apex, wondering if he was making a mistake. Patricia met him in the lobby. Same kind smile. Same professional competence. Mr. Carter, good to see you again. Miss Brooks is in a meeting, but she asked me to bring you to the production floor. The team's expecting you. The production floor occupied the entire 3rd level. Climate-controlled space the size of an airplane hangar. 7 vehicle platforms in various stages of assembly. Engineers and technicians moving between stations with purpose and precision. And in the center of it all, Daniel Reeves. He saw Ryan immediately. Walked over with an expression that could have been professional courtesy or barely contained hostility. Hard to tell. Mr. Carter, Daniel extended his hand. Thanks for coming. Ryan shook it. Thanks for having me. I owe you an apology. The way I treated you during the initial demonstration, that wasn't professional. You were protecting your work. I understand. I was protecting my ego. There's a difference. Daniel gestured at the production floor. You found problems in 6 of our 7 vehicles. Problems our systems missed. Problems I missed. That's not something I can ignore. Your systems are fine. They're just not looking in the right places. So teach us. Show us what we're missing. For the next 3 hours, Ryan walked the production floor with Daniel and 5 other engineers. He showed them thermal pathways, compression points, places where assembly decisions created unintended consequences, all the blind spots that existed between what sensors could monitor and what actually mattered. The engineers listened, asked questions, took notes. Some of them looked skeptical. Most looked interested. None of them laughed. At noon, Natalie appeared. How's it going? Good, Daniel said. Really good. Ryan's been showing us gaps in our inspection protocol we didn't know existed. Gaps big enough to drive a truck through, one of the younger engineers added. Mitchell, the one who'd helped remove the panel during the initial demonstration. Can we fix them? Natalie asked. Yeah, Ryan said, but it'll require updating your assembly procedures, adding manual inspection steps, training your team to look for things the sensors can't see. How long? 2 weeks to update the protocols. Another month to train everyone properly. 6 weeks total if you want to do it right. Natalie looked at Daniel. Can we do it right? We don't have much choice. Minneapolis has been postponed. Boston's asking questions. Chicago wants assurances. If we can't guarantee safety, we don't have a product. Then we do it right. Ryan, you'll lead the protocol development? I can outline it, but Daniel and his team need to implement it. They're the ones who'll be using it long term. Collaborative approach. I like it. Natalie checked her watch. I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. Ryan, can you stay another hour? I'd like you to meet Victor Lang. Get his perspective on the production timeline. Ryan's expression must have changed because Natalie noticed immediately. Problem? She asked. Victor and I didn't exactly hit it off during our first meeting. Victor doesn't hit it off with anyone, but he controls the budget and you'll need his approval for protocol changes. Ryan agreed, reluctantly. Natalie disappeared to her meeting. Daniel and the engineers returned to their stations, and Ryan was left standing on the production floor, wondering how a simple maintenance call 3 weeks ago had turned into this. At 1:15, Patricia appeared again. Mr. Carter? Mr. Lang will see you now. Victor's office was 2 floors below Natalie's, smaller, less window space, but decorated with the kind of aggressive minimalism that screamed expense. Victor sat behind a desk that could have doubled as a landing strip, 60 years old, silver hair that probably cost $100 to cut, suit that cost more than Ryan's truck. Mr. Carter. No handshake, no smile. Sit. Ryan sat. Natalie tells me you found problems with our production line. 6 vehicles needed corrections, some minor, some significant. And these corrections will delay our delivery timeline. Yes. By how much? 6 weeks. Maybe 8 if training takes longer than expected. Victor leaned back in his chair. That's unacceptable. We have contracts, commitments, hospitals waiting for these vehicles. Every week of delay costs us revenue and credibility. Every vehicle with a safety flaw costs you lawsuits and lives. Our legal team can handle lawsuits. Ryan felt something cold settle in his chest. Can they handle dead patients? Watch your tone. I'm an executive vice president of this company. You're a consultant we hired 3 weeks ago. I'm a consultant Natalie hired because your $1 million systems almost killed a 12-year-old. Victor's expression hardened. That fault was an assembly anomaly, an isolated incident. There's no evidence of systemic issues. I found systemic issues in 6 of 7 vehicles. You found minor variations, thermal signatures within acceptable parameters. Your interpretations are overly cautious. My interpretations kept Tyler Brennan alive. One incident doesn't justify delaying an entire production line. Ryan stood. If you want to ship unsafe vehicles to meet a timeline, that's your choice. But when one of them fails and someone dies, I'll make sure everyone knows I warned you. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. You ship these vehicles as is, people will get hurt. I'll document everything, every warning, every ignored recommendation, every corner you cut, and when the lawsuits come, I'll testify. Victor stood too. You're done here. I'll have security escort you out. I work for Natalie, not you. Natalie works for the board works for the investors, and the investors want these vehicles delivered on schedule. Your services are no longer required. The door opened, but it wasn't security, it was Natalie. Victor, she said quietly, step away from my consultant. Your consultant just threatened me. Your consultant just told you the truth. Natalie walked into the office like she owned it, which Ryan supposed she kind of did. Ryan, what did Victor say? He wants to ship the vehicles as is, says the delays are unacceptable. Natalie turned to Victor. Is that true? We have contractual obligations? I don't care about contracts. I care about safety. Ryan found 6 vehicles with potentially catastrophic flaws. We fixed them before they ship. End of discussion. The board won't approve an 8-week delay. Then I'll explain to the board why the delay is necessary, and I'll remind them that shipping unsafe vehicles is how companies end up in bankruptcy court. You're overreacting. Tyler Brennan almost died in our prototype. That's not overreaction. That's reality. Natalie's voice stayed calm, but there was steel underneath. We fix the vehicles. We update the protocols. We do this right. If that costs us 8 weeks, so be it. Victor's jaw tightened. This is a mistake. It's my mistake to make. I'm the CEO. For now. The threat hung in the air. Natalie didn't flinch. Get back to work, Victor, and stay away from my consultant. Victor left without another word. The office felt bigger without him in it. Natalie exhaled slowly. I'm sorry. He shouldn't have spoken to you that way. He's protecting his timeline. He's protecting his bonus. There's a difference. She sat in the chair Victor had vacated. Are you okay? I've dealt with worse. In your previous career? In my previous life. Natalie nodded. Victor's going to push back on this. He has allies on the board. They're going to question the delays. Then show them the data. Show them what I found. They'll say you're being overly cautious, that your personal history makes you see danger everywhere. Ryan felt that cold thing in his chest again. My personal history? Your wife's accident. They'll claim it's made you risk-averse, that you're projecting trauma onto normal engineering variations.
I know. It's garbage, but they'll use it anyway. Natalie met his eyes. I need you to be prepared for that. When I present your findings to the board, they're going to question your judgment, your motives, your credibility. Can you handle that? Ryan thought about Emma, about the life they'd built, about walking away from Sterling Apex and going back to fixing air conditioners. Then he thought about Tyler Brennan, about the compressed wire that would have killed him, about all the other Tylers waiting in hospitals for vehicles that might not be safe. Yeah, he said. I can handle it. Good, because I'm going to need you at that board meeting. Friday, 2 p.m. Can you make it? I pick up Emma at 3. You'll be done by 2:45, I promise. Ryan nodded, checked his watch. It was 1:52. He needed to leave soon. But as he stood to go, Natalie spoke again. Ryan, thank you for standing up to Victor. Most people don't. Most people don't have a daughter who needs new shoes. I can't afford to care what Victor thinks. Is that the only reason? Ryan considered. No, the real reason is that I've already lost everything that mattered. Career, wife, the life I planned. Victor can't take anything from me that hasn't already been taken. That makes me dangerous. Natalie smiled, small but genuine. Good. We need dangerous right now. Ryan left Sterling Apex at 2:03, made it to Emma's school at 2:56, and spent the rest of the afternoon trying not to think about board meetings and executives who cared more about timelines than lives. But that night, after Emma was asleep, he opened his laptop and started preparing. Documentation, data, evidence, everything he'd need to prove that the vehicles weren't safe and the delays weren't optional, because Friday was coming. And Victor Lang wasn't the only one who could be dangerous when it mattered. The documentation took Ryan 3 nights to compile. Spreadsheets, thermal imaging comparisons, assembly timestamp correlations, every piece of evidence that proved the vehicles weren't ready, and Victor Lang was pushing a dangerous timeline. On Wednesday night, around midnight, he found something that made him stop. Vehicle 2's assembly record showed a safety inspection signed off at 3:47 p.m. on March 12th. But the thermal sensor calibration for that same vehicle was timestamped at 4:15 p.m. the same day, 28 minutes after the safety inspection was supposedly complete. Someone had signed off on safety checks before the sensors were even calibrated. Ryan pulled up Vehicle 3's records. Same pattern. Safety inspection at 2:33 p.m. Sensor calibration at 3:01 p.m. Vehicle 4. Vehicle 5. Vehicle 6. Every single one showed safety inspections completed before critical systems were fully tested. Ryan grabbed his phone, called Natalie. It rang 4 times before she answered, voice thick with sleep. This better be important. Someone's falsifying inspection records, Ryan said. Silence. Then, say that again? He explained what he'd found. The timestamps, the pattern, the impossible sequence of events that meant either the timestamps were wrong or the inspections were fake. Send me everything, Natalie said. She wasn't sleepy anymore. Right now. Ryan forwarded the files, heard Natalie's computer chime through the phone. Jesus, she said after a minute. This is on every vehicle except 7. The one you assembled yourself. Yeah. A pause. Who signed off on these inspections? Ryan checked. Thomas Brenner, lead assembly supervisor. I know Tom. He's been with us since the beginning. Careful. Methodical. This doesn't make sense. Unless someone told him to rush it. Victor.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying someone with authority over production timelines. Natalie was quiet. Ryan could hear her breathing, thinking. The board meeting's in 2 days, she said. This changes everything. Or it gets you fired. Probably, but I'd rather get fired than put unsafe vehicles in hospitals. She exhaled. Get some sleep, Ryan. Friday's going to be rough. Ryan tried. But sleep didn't come easy when you just discovered evidence that could destroy a company or save lives depending on who believed you. Thursday morning, Emma noticed he looked tired. Bad dreams, Daddy? Something like that. Want to talk about it? Ryan smiled despite everything. When did you become the parent? Miss Henderson says talking about feelings is important. Miss Henderson's very smart. So are you. That's why you look tired. Smart people think too much. Ryan pulled her into a hug. Where do you get this stuff? I'm 6. I know things. At school drop-off, Emma's teacher caught Ryan before he could leave. Mr. Carter? Can I talk to you for a minute? Ryan's stomach dropped. Teachers never wanted to talk unless something was wrong. Is Emma okay? Emma's fine. Great, actually. But I wanted to mention something. Miss Henderson glanced around, then lowered her voice. She's been asking about money lately, whether we have enough, whether you're worried about bills. I just wanted to make sure everything's all right at home. Ryan felt that familiar weight, the one that came with being a single parent who couldn't hide the truth as well as he thought. We're fine. Things have been tight, but we're managing. I'm not judging. I grew up in a single-parent household. I know how it is. She paused. Emma mentioned you got a new job. Something about robots? Consulting work. It pays better than what I was doing. That's good. She seems excited about it, proud of her dad. Miss Henderson smiled. She talks about you a lot, how you fix things, how you're smart, how you take care of her. I just wanted you to know that whatever you're doing it right. Ryan's throat tightened. Thank you. That means more than you know. He made it back to the truck before the emotion hit him. Sat there for a minute, hands on the steering wheel, reminding himself that Emma was okay. They were okay. Everything else was just noise. Then his phone rang. Natalie. We have a problem, she said. What kind of problem? Victor knows. About the inspection records. About what you found. How? I don't know. But he called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow at noon, 2 hours before the scheduled meeting. He's going to present his own timeline analysis. Try to discredit your findings before you can present them. Ryan checked his watch. I can't make a noon meeting. I have to pick up Emma at 3. This meeting will determine whether we fix the vehicles or ship them as is. You need to be there. I pick up my daughter at 3 o'clock. That was the deal. Ryan, no, Emma comes first, always. If the board meeting runs late, I leave. If they don't like it, they can find another consultant. Natalie was quiet for a moment. Okay, but you need to be prepared. Victor's going to come at you hard, your credentials, your judgment, your personal history, everything. Let him. He's going to say you're damaged, that losing your wife made you see danger where there isn't any, that you're projecting trauma onto normal engineering decisions. Ryan felt anger rise in his chest, the cold kind, the dangerous kind. He can say whatever he wants. The data doesn't lie. Those inspection records are falsified. Those vehicles aren't safe. And if Victor wants to put his timeline ahead of people's lives, I'll make sure everyone knows it. Just be ready. He fights dirty. So do I when it matters. Friday morning came too fast. Ryan dropped Emma at school, drove to Sterling Apex, and arrived at 11:47 to find the parking lot fuller than he'd ever seen it. Expensive cars, out-of-state plates, board members arriving early. Patricia met him in the lobby, looking more worried than usual. Mr. Carter, the meeting's in conference room A, 15th floor. Ms. Brooks asked me to give you this. She handed him a folder. Background on the board members, Victor's allies, the ones who'll be skeptical. Thanks. And Mr. Carter, good luck. We're all counting on you. The conference room could have seated 30 people. Today it held 12. Board members in expensive suits. Legal counsel. 2 people Ryan didn't recognize who looked like investors. And at the head of the table, Victor Lang, looking confident in a way that made Ryan's instincts scream. Natalie sat halfway down the table, expression neutral. She gave Ryan a small nod. "Mr. Carter," Victor's voice carried across the room. "Thank you for joining us. Please, sit." Ryan sat, pulled out his laptop, felt every eye in the room judging him. "Now then," Victor continued, standing at the presentation screen, "we're here to discuss Mr. Carter's concerns about our production timeline, concerns which, I believe, are well-intentioned but fundamentally misguided." He clicked a remote. The screen showed a chart Ryan had never seen before. "Mr. Carter claims our vehicles have systemic safety issues. But let's look at the actual data. Our diagnostic systems, which cost Sterling Apex over $2 million, show nominal performance across all 7 vehicles. Battery temperatures within spec. Power distribution stable. Structural integrity certified." Another click. Another chart. Mr. Carter's thermal scanner, by contrast, costs $40 and is designed for home use. It's not calibrated for industrial applications. Its readings are, by definition, approximate at best. One of the board members, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes, spoke up. "Mr. Lang, are you saying Mr. Carter's findings are inaccurate?" "I'm saying they're based on equipment that isn't designed for this level of precision. And more importantly, they're interpreted by someone whose personal history may be influencing his judgment." Ryan felt the room shift, felt everyone's attention focus on him. "Explain," the woman said. Victor's expression became sympathetic, concerned, completely fake. Mr. Carter suffered a terrible tragedy 3 years ago. His wife died in a vehicle accident, catastrophic failure due to a drunk driver. He spent 6 weeks in the hospital recovering, lost his career, his life as he knew it. That kind of trauma leaves scars. "What's your point?" Natalie's voice was cold. "My point is that Mr. Carter may be seeing danger where none exists because he's conditioned to expect the worst. His professional judgment may be compromised by personal experience." Ryan kept his voice level. "The inspection records are falsified. That's not judgment, that's fact. Alleged falsification based on timestamp discrepancies that could be explained by clerical errors. 5 vehicles all showing the same clerical error? Not impossible, especially in a fast-paced production environment." The sharp-eyed woman looked at Ryan. "Mr. Carter, do you have evidence of deliberate falsification?" "I have inspection records signed off before critical systems were tested. Either the timestamps are wrong or the inspections are fake. Either way, it's a problem." "Or," Victor said, "it's an administrative issue that doesn't affect vehicle safety. Our diagnostic systems show everything nominal. Our engineers have confidence in the vehicles. The only person raising concerns is a consultant we hired 3 weeks ago who's using consumer-grade equipment and whose judgment may be impaired by past trauma." "That's enough, Victor," Natalie stood. "Ryan's findings are valid. I've reviewed them personally. Those vehicles have safety issues that our systems missed. We fix them before they ship. Period. With respect, Natalie, you're not a safety engineer. Mr. Carter is. Or was. Before he walked away from his career." "I walked away to raise my daughter," Ryan said quietly. "Of course. A noble choice. But 3 years away from the field is a long time. Technology changes. Standards evolve. Your experience, while valuable, may be outdated." Another board member spoke up, younger, aggressive-looking. "Mr. Lang, what's your recommendation?" "Ship the vehicles as scheduled. Address any concerns through our standard warranty and service protocols. Except that Mr. Carter's findings, while interesting, don't justify an 8-week delay that could cost us millions in revenue and credibility." "That's insane," Ryan said. "That's business. That's how people die. That's fear-mongering based on worst-case scenarios that may never materialize." Ryan stood, pulled up a file on his laptop and connected to the presentation screen. "This is Vehicle 2's thermal imaging," he said. The room fell silent as the image appeared. "That hot spot near the battery compartment? That's a compressed power cable. Your diagnostic systems read it as normal ambient variation, but under sustained load over time it would have failed, probably during transport, possibly during operation. Either way, catastrophic." He clicked to the next image. Vehicle 3. Different issue. Sensor calibration drift causing the battery management system to misread actual temperatures. Your dashboards would show everything fine right up until thermal runaway started. By then, too late to stop it. Another click. Vehicle 4. Structural stress point creating electrical pathway between frame and battery housing. Vehicle 5. Cooling system routing that creates thermal dead zone. Vehicle 6. Ground fault in the rescue compartment's life support system. He looked around the room. Everyone was watching the screen now. Even Victor had gone quiet.
These aren't theoretical risks. These aren't worst-case scenarios. These are actual faults in actual vehicles that your actual diagnostic systems completely missed. And if you ship them, people will get hurt. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but eventually. And when they do, every person in this room will have known it was coming. The sharp-eyed woman leaned forward. Mr. Carter, how certain are you of these findings?
Completely certain. I've documented everything. Thermal imaging, sensor logs, cross-referenced with assembly records. It's all there. And the falsified inspections? Ryan pulled up the timestamp data, showed them the impossible sequences, the pattern across 5 vehicles, the signature of someone rushing to meet a deadline at the expense of safety.
Someone approved these vehicles before they were ready, Ryan said.
Someone with authority over production timelines. Someone who cares more about deadlines than lives. Victor's face had gone red. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious problem. You're implying I falsified safety records. I'm saying someone did. If that someone is you, you should probably explain why. The room exploded. 3 board members talking at once. Legal counsel whispering urgently. Natalie trying to restore order. The sharp-eyed woman stood. Enough! Everyone sit down. Silence returned. Mr. Lang, she said. Did you pressure the assembly team to complete inspections before vehicles were ready? I maintain production timelines. That's my job. Did you falsify inspection records? I signed off on vehicles I believed were safe based on diagnostic data available at the time. That's not an answer. Victor's confidence cracked, just slightly. The diagnostic system showed nominal performance. I had no reason to believe the vehicles were unsafe. But you signed inspection records before sensors were calibrated. Administrative oversight, not deliberate falsification. On 5 separate vehicles, production was moving fast. Some documentation may have been completed out of sequence. The woman turned to Ryan. Mr. Carter, in your professional opinion, are these vehicles safe to ship as currently configured? Ryan thought about Tyler Brennan, about Emma, about all the people who would trust these vehicles with their lives. No, ma'am, they're not. How long to fix them? 6 weeks minimum, 8 to be safe. And if we ship them anyway, someone dies. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And when it happens, you'll all know you could have prevented it. The woman looked at Natalie. Ms. Brooks, your position? We fix the vehicles. We delay the launch. We do this right. Mr. Lang, we ship on schedule. We accept normal operational risk. We don't let one consultant's overcautious interpretation derail a $40 million project. The woman sat down, looked at the other board members, some kind of silent communication Ryan couldn't read. We'll vote, she said. All in favor of delaying production to address Mr. Carter's findings? Natalie's hand went up immediately. 3 other hands followed. 4 votes. Opposed? Victor's hand. 3 others. 4 votes. A tie. The sharp-eyed woman looked at the remaining board members. 2 people who hadn't voted. 1 older man, 1 younger woman. Mr. Hendricks, the sharp-eyed woman said. The older man cleared his throat. I've been in this industry 40 years. I've seen what happens when companies prioritize timelines over safety. It never ends well. He looked at Ryan. Mr. Carter's credentials check out. His findings are documented. His concerns are valid. I vote to delay. 5 votes for delay. Everyone looked at the younger woman. She was studying her tablet, reading something. Ms. Chen, the sharp-eyed woman prompted. I'm looking at Mr. Carter's background, Ms. Chen said. Dr. Ryan Carter, 8 years at Titan Automotive, 17 patents, 9 published papers. Lead investigator on the Nevada battery fire that killed 3 people and changed industry safety standards. She looked up. This man literally wrote the protocols most manufacturers use today. His $40 scanner found problems that multi-million-dollar systems missed, and we're questioning his judgment because he took time off to raise his daughter after his wife died? She closed her tablet. I vote to delay. And I vote to replace Victor Lang as head of production. His priorities are clearly misaligned with this company's values. The room went silent. 6 votes for delay, 4 against. Victor stood. This is ridiculous. You're destroying this company based on fear-mongering and... Mr. Lang, the sharp-eyed woman's voice cut through his protest. You're suspended pending investigation into the inspection record discrepancies. Security will escort you to collect your personal belongings. You're to have no contact with production staff or engineering teams. Do you understand? Victor's face went from red to white. You can't do this. We just did. Security, please. 2 security guards Ryan hadn't noticed appeared at the door. Victor looked around the room, finding no allies, no support. Just 12 faces that had decided he was more liability than asset. He left without another word. The sharp-eyed woman turned to Natalie. Ms. Brooks, you'll oversee production directly until we appoint a new VP. Mr. Carter, you'll continue as safety consultant with expanded authority. Whatever you need to fix these vehicles, you have it. Understood?
Yes, ma'am, Natalie said. Mr. Carter? Ryan checked his watch. 2:41 p.m. He had 19 minutes. Understood. But I need to leave in 15 minutes to pick up my daughter. The woman smiled, small but genuine. Then we're done here. Good work, Mr. Carter. You just saved this company from itself. The board members filed out, legal counsel, investors, until it was just Ryan and Natalie and the echoing quiet of the conference room. You did it, Natalie said. We did it. No, you did it. You stood up to Victor, presented evidence, defended your findings against people who wanted to tear you apart. She shook her head. I couldn't have done this without you. You would have found someone else. I wouldn't have. I almost shipped those vehicles. I almost trusted the systems over instinct. You saved Tyler. You saved this company. And you did it while making sure you could pick up your daughter on time. Ryan started packing his laptop. What happens now? Now we fix the vehicles, update the protocols, rebuild the production process from the ground up. Natalie paused. I want you to lead it. Not just consult. Actually lead the safety review. Full authority. Name your salary. I pick up Emma at 3 every day. I know. And I work from home unless absolutely necessary. I know that too. And if she gets sick or has a school event or just needs her dad, work waits. Ryan, I'm not asking you to choose between your daughter and this job. I'm asking you to do this job in a way that works for your life. Whatever that looks like. Ryan looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw someone who'd made mistakes and learned from them. Someone who'd chosen integrity over profit when it mattered. $120,000, he said. That's what I was making at Titan before I left. Done. Plus benefits and equity options. I don't know what equity options are. You will. Patricia will explain everything. Natalie extended her hand. Do we have a deal? Ryan shook it. We have a deal. He made it to Emma's school at 2:58. She was waiting at the usual spot, backpack dragging on the ground, stuffed bear under one arm. Daddy, you're here. Where else would I be? I don't know. You looked worried this morning. Just work stuff. It's handled now. Emma climbed into the truck. Did you fix the robots? Not yet, but we're going to. It'll take a while. That's okay. Good things take time. Miss Henderson says so. Miss Henderson's right. They stopped for ice cream on the way home. Not because it was a special occasion, just because Ryan could afford it now and Emma deserved something good on a Friday afternoon. At home, while Emma did homework, Ryan's phone buzzed with messages. Patricia sending onboarding documents. Daniel requesting a meeting to discuss protocol updates. Mitchell asking questions about thermal pathway analysis. And one message from a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Carter, this is Thomas Brenner. I was the assembly supervisor Victor fired 3 months ago when I refused to sign off on incomplete inspections. I heard what happened today. Thank you for having the courage to speak up. Some of us tried. It didn't work. I'm glad you succeeded where we failed. Ryan stared at the message for a long time. Victor hadn't just falsified records. He'd fired the people who tried to stop him, created a production environment where shortcuts were rewarded and safety was optional. How many other companies operated the same way? How many other Victors were out there pushing dangerous timelines, silencing dissent, prioritizing profit over lives?
Ryan didn't have answers, but he had a job now, a real one, with authority and resources and the backing of people who'd chosen to do the right thing even when it cost them. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. Not working, just thinking. About the path that had brought him here. The accident that took Sarah. The career he'd abandoned. The 3 years of scraping by on maintenance jobs and wondering if he'd made the right choice. About Emma growing up watching her father fix air conditioners for $200 a day and wondering if that was all he was capable of. About Tyler Brennan, alive because a $40 scanner had been in the right place at the right time. About all the people who would ride in those vehicles once they were fixed. Patients, paramedics, families trusting their lives to machines that almost weren't safe. His phone buzzed. Natalie. You still awake? Yeah.
Me too. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about how close we came.
Me too.
A pause. Comfortable silence. Ryan, can I ask you something personal? You're going to anyway. Do you ever regret it? Leaving Titan, walking away from that career? Ryan thought about it, really thought about it. Every day, he said honestly. But I regret the idea of Emma growing up without me more, so I live with the first regret to avoid the second one. That's not much of a choice. It's the only choice I had. Had. Past tense. Yeah. What about now? What choice do you have now? Ryan looked around his small kitchen, at Emma's drawings on the refrigerator, at the stuffed bear on the counter, at the life they'd built together from wreckage and determination. Now, he said, now I get to do work that matters and still be home when Emma needs me. That's not a choice. That's a gift. You earned it. We'll see. Ask me again in 6 weeks when we're knee-deep in protocol rewrites and everyone hates me. Natalie laughed. They won't hate you. They might be intimidated by you, but they won't hate you. What's the difference? Hate means they don't respect you. Intimidation means they do. They're just not ready to admit it yet. They talked for another 20 minutes. About production timelines. About personnel changes. About how to rebuild a safety culture that Victor had systematically dismantled. Professional topics. Work topics. But underneath it all, Ryan felt something shifting. A foundation settling into place. The beginning of something that might become trust. He ended the call at 11:43 and finally went to bed. In his dreams, Sarah was there. Not the way she'd been at the end, broken and gone. The way she'd been before. Alive. Smiling, holding Emma when Emma was still small enough to fit in the crook of one arm. You did good, Dream Sarah said. I'm trying. I know. That's enough. Ryan woke at 6:30 to Emma bouncing on his bed. Daddy, it's Saturday. Can we go to the park? Sure, baby girl. And can we get the good cereal, the one with the marshmallows? Ryan thought about his new salary. About the $120,000 that would start hitting his account in 2 weeks. Yeah, he said. We can get the good cereal. Emma squealed and ran to get dressed. Ryan lay there for a minute longer, feeling the morning sun through the window, hearing Emma sing to herself in her room. Victor was gone. The vehicles would be fixed. Emma would get new shoes and marshmallow cereal and all the little things she'd been doing without. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the life he'd planned, but it was good. And for the first time in 3 years, that felt like enough. The marshmallow cereal lasted 3 days before Emma decided the regular kind was fine after all. It's too sweet, Daddy. My teeth feel fuzzy. Ryan smiled over his coffee. That's called a sugar rush. I don't like it. Can we go back to the boring cereal? The boring cereal it is. It was the small things that reminded Ryan his daughter was still 6 years old. Still learning what she actually wanted versus what she thought she wanted. Still figuring out that expensive didn't always mean better. He wished more adults understood that lesson. Monday morning brought the first real test of Ryan's new position. Daniel had called a production meeting for 9 a.m., mandatory attendance for all engineering staff. Ryan was expected to present the updated safety protocols. Do I have to go? He'd asked Natalie on Sunday night. You're the director of safety engineering now. Yes, you have to go. I didn't agree to be a director of anything. You agreed to lead the safety review with full authority. That makes you a director whether you like the title or not. So at 8:47 a.m.,
Ryan found himself standing outside conference room B with a laptop full of protocol changes and a stomach full of anxiety he hadn't felt since his first presentation at Titan 8 years ago. Patricia appeared beside him. "Mr. Carter, can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? Xanax?" She smiled. "Fresh out, but I can offer moral support." "I'll take it." The conference room filled quickly. Daniel and his core engineering team, Mitchell and the assembly supervisors, quality control staff, people from departments Ryan didn't even know existed. 23 people total, all looking at him with varying degrees of curiosity and skepticism. Daniel stood at the front of the room. "Everyone, this is Ryan Carter. Most of you know him as the consultant who found the thermal faults. As of Friday, he's our new director of safety engineering. He's going to walk us through the protocol updates we'll be implementing over the next 6 weeks. Ryan?" Ryan connected his laptop to the presentation screen, aware of every eye on him. Some faces were friendly. Mitchell gave him an encouraging nod. Others looked annoyed, like this meeting was interrupting more important work. One engineer in the back, older guy with gray hair and an expression that suggested he'd seen too many consultants come and go, raised his hand. "Before we start, can I ask a question?" "Sure," Ryan said. "What makes you qualified to overhaul protocols that trained engineers spent months developing?" The room went quiet. Ryan could have pulled rank, could have listed his credentials, his patents, his years at Titan, could have reminded them that he'd found faults their million-dollar systems missed. Instead, he said, "Nothing makes me qualified. I'm just someone who's seen enough failures to know where to look for the next one. You're the experts on these vehicles. I'm just here to show you what I found and ask if maybe we should check these things before someone gets hurt." The older engineer studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Fair enough." Ryan pulled up the first slide. Vehicle 2's thermal imaging. "This is what I saw 3 weeks ago. Hotspot near the battery compartment. Your diagnostic systems read it as normal because it was within acceptable temperature range. But temperature isn't the problem. Pattern is. This heat signature pulsed with the power cycles, which meant something was drawing current and generating resistance. Compressed wire, as it turned out." He clicked to the next slide showing the actual wire after they'd removed the panel. "The question isn't whether your systems work. They do. The question is whether we're asking them to look in the right places." Mitchell spoke up. "So we add more sensors?" "That's one option. Expensive, but thorough. The other option is manual inspection at critical points, thermal scan with handheld equipment, physical verification of wire routing, visual check for compression or stress marks." "That adds time to production," someone said. "Yeah, it does. About 45 minutes per vehicle, but it catches things automated systems miss. 45 minutes per vehicle is 6 hours across the production line. That's nearly a full day of delay per production cycle." Ryan nodded. "Would you rather delay production by a day or explain to a hospital why their emergency vehicle caught fire during a rescue?" No one had an answer for that. For the next 2 hours, Ryan walked them through every fault he'd found. Vehicle 3's sensor calibration drift. Vehicle 4's structural stress point. Vehicle 5's cooling system dead zone. Vehicle 6's ground fault. He showed them the inspection records with the impossible timestamps, explained how Victor had pressured the assembly team to sign off on incomplete work, made it clear that this wasn't about blaming anyone, it was about fixing a broken system before people got hurt. By 11:15, the skepticism had started to fade. Engineers were asking questions, taking notes, suggesting additional checkpoints Ryan hadn't considered. The older engineer who'd challenged him at the start raised his hand again. "I worked on Vehicle 7, the one you said was clean. What did we do right?" Ryan pulled up Vehicle 7's documentation. "Everything. You followed every protocol, completed inspections in the correct sequence, double-checked thermal pathways, verified sensor calibration before signing off on safety checks. It's a textbook example of how the process should work. That vehicle took 3 days longer to complete than the others. And it's the only one that's actually safe to put in service. I'd say those 3 days were worth it." The engineer nodded slowly. "So would I." Daniel stood. "All right, here's what we're going to do. Ryan's protocols become standard operating procedure as of today. No exceptions. Production timeline adjusts to accommodate proper inspection sequences. Quality over speed. Everyone clear?" Heads nodded around the room. "Good. Ryan,
Anything else? Ryan hesitated. There was one more thing, the hardest thing. Yeah, I need to talk about culture. What about it?
Victor created an environment where people were afraid to slow down, afraid to raise concerns, afraid to say this isn't ready because they might lose their jobs. Thomas Brenner got fired for refusing to sign off on incomplete inspections. How many others stayed quiet because they saw what happened to him? The room was silent. We can update protocols all we want, Ryan continued, but if people are scared to use them, it doesn't matter. So I need everyone in this room to understand something. If you see a problem, you speak up. If you're not sure something's safe, you stop the line. If anyone, and I mean anyone, pressures you to rush through safety checks, you come directly to me. No consequences, no retaliation. Your job is to build these vehicles right, not fast. Mitchell spoke quietly. What if the board pressures us? Like Victor did? Then the board answers to me, and I'll tell them the same thing I'm telling you. We don't ship anything that isn't safe, period. Easy to say now, the older engineer said. Harder when investors start complaining about delays. Let them complain. I've lost everything that mattered to me once already. I'm not afraid of losing a job. Ryan met his eyes. But I'm afraid of putting my name on something that kills people. If that makes me overcautious, I can live with that. Daniel nodded. We're done here. Get back to work. New protocols are in your shared drives. Questions go to Ryan or me. The engineers filed out. Most of them looked thoughtful. A few looked relieved. The older engineer stopped on his way past Ryan's chair. My name's Robert Chen. I've been building vehicles for 30 years. I've seen a lot of consultants come through here promising to fix things. Most of them don't last 3 months. I'm not most consultants. I'm starting to see that. Robert extended his hand. Welcome to the team, Director Carter. Try not to let it kill you. Ryan shook his hand. I'll do my best. Alone in the conference room, Ryan packed up his laptop and checked his phone. 11:34 a.m. Text from Emma's school. Mr. Carter, this is Miss Henderson. Emma said you might be able to come talk to the class about electricity next week. The kids are very excited. Let me know if Thursday works. Ryan typed back. Thursday works. What time? The response came immediately. 2 p.m. Thank you so much. He was smiling at his phone when Natalie appeared in the doorway. How'd it go? Better than expected. Some skepticism at the start, but they came around. I heard. Robert Chen called me very pleased with the new leadership. That's the most positive thing I've ever heard him say about anyone. He seems like he knows what he's doing. He does. He also tried to stop Victor 6 months ago, got overruled by the board. He's been waiting for someone to back him up. Ryan felt something settle in his chest. I'm not trying to be a hero here. I know, that's why it's working. Natalie sat down across from him. I need to tell you something. The board's launching a formal investigation into Victor's conduct. They want you to testify. When? Next month. Maybe sooner. They're bringing in external auditors to review all the production records, every vehicle we've built, every inspection Victor signed off on, everything. Good. It's going to get ugly. Victor has lawyers. He's already claiming wrongful termination. Says you fabricated evidence to take his job. Ryan laughed without humor. I didn't want his job. I wanted to fix air conditioners and pick up my daughter from school. I know, but that's not the story he's telling. What story is he telling? That you're a washed-up engineer with PTSD from your wife's death, who saw dangers that didn't exist, and convinced me to fire him so you could take his position. The anger came fast and cold. He's using Sarah's death to discredit me? Yeah, that's... Ryan stopped, breathed, forced the anger down. That's actually pretty smart. Hard to disprove. Makes me look emotionally compromised. It's also complete garbage. The thermal faults were real. The falsified inspections were real. The vehicles were unsafe. But if he can make the board question my judgment, maybe he can make them question the evidence too. Natalie leaned forward. That's not going to happen. The auditors will confirm everything you found. The timeline discrepancies speak for themselves. Victor's done. Unless he convinces people I'm the problem instead of him, let him try. You've got documentation, data, physical evidence, and you've got me backing you up. Ryan looked at her. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This. Defending me. Risking your position. The board could just as easily blame you for hiring me.
They could, but they won't. Because I'm the CEO and I made the right call. She paused. Also, because you were right and Victor was wrong, and I'm not going to let him destroy your reputation to save his own. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is. Victor was my VP. His failures are my failures. His lies are my problem. And if he wants to go after you, he goes through me first. Ryan didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Natalie's phone buzzed. She checked it and sighed. I have to go. Investor call. They want reassurance that we're still on track. Are we? 6 weeks from now, we will be. That's the best I can tell them. She left. Ryan sat alone in the conference room for another minute, thinking about Victor's accusations, about PTSD and emotional compromise, and all the ways grief could be weaponized against someone. The truth was, Victor wasn't entirely wrong. Sarah's death had changed Ryan, made him more cautious, made him see danger in places other people dismissed, made him unable to let things slide when lives were at stake. But that didn't make him wrong. It made him careful. And in his line of work, careful kept people alive. His phone rang. Unknown number. Ryan almost didn't answer. This is Ryan. Mr. Carter, this is Helen Brennan, Tyler's mother. Ryan's stomach dropped. Is Tyler okay? He's fine. Great, actually. I'm calling because I just found out what really happened. What you found, what you prevented. I don't know what you mean. A friend of mine works at Sterling Apex. She told me about the thermal fault, about how the vehicle Tyler was supposed to ride in would have, her voice broke, would have killed him. Mrs. Brennan, you saved my son's life, and I never got to thank you. I sent Natalie Brooks a card thanking her for the wonderful demonstration Tyler was so excited about. But it wasn't wonderful. It was almost a nightmare, and you stopped it. Ryan closed his eyes. I'm glad Tyler's okay. He asks about the vehicle all the time, wants to know when he can ride in it. I tell him soon. Is that true? Will it be safe? Yeah, we're fixing everything, making sure it's right. When Tyler rides in that vehicle, it'll be the safest emergency transport in the country. Thank you. She was crying now. You have a daughter, right? Natalie mentioned it. Emma, she's 6. Then you understand what it means to have someone you die for, someone whose safety matters more than anything. Yeah, I understand. Tyler's alive because of you, because you cared enough to check, because you wouldn't let them ignore what you found. I don't know how to repay that. You don't have to repay anything. Just keep taking Tyler to his treatments. Keep fighting for him. That's enough. They talked for a few more minutes. Helen told him about Tyler's latest scan, about how the cancer was responding to treatment, about how excited he was to eventually ride in the robot ambulance. Ryan listened and tried not to think about how close Tyler had come to never having another scan. After they hung up, Ryan sat in the conference room until Patricia found him at 12:43. Mr. Carter, are you all right? Yeah, just thinking. About how many Tylers there are out there. How many people are going to trust these vehicles with their lives. How many chances we have to get this wrong. Patricia sat down beside him. You know what Natalie told me after the board meeting? She said you're the kind of person who loses sleep over hypothetical victims. She meant it as a compliment. Doesn't feel like one. It is. Most people don't care about hypotheticals. They care about quarterly reports and investor confidence and whether their bonus clears. You care about people who don't exist yet, people who'll be safer because you worried about them. Ryan managed a small smile. When you put it that way, it sounds almost noble. It is noble. It's also exhausting, which is why you need to eat lunch. Come on, I'll buy you a sandwich from the cafeteria. You don't have to... I know, but Natalie told me to make sure you eat, says you forget when you're stressed. I've known her 5 weeks. How does she know that? She pays attention. Now come on, I'm not taking no for an answer. The cafeteria was nicer than Ryan expected. Not hospital cafeteria nice, but actual restaurant nice. Sandwiches made to order, salad bar, hot entrees that looked like food instead of mystery meat. This is all free? Ryan asked. Employee benefit. One of the good things about working here. They sat by the windows overlooking the production floor. Ryan ate a turkey sandwich that was better than it had any right to be, while Patricia told him about the office politics, the board dynamics, and which departments to trust.
Quality control loves you, by the way, she said. They've been trying to slow down production for months. You gave them the ammunition they needed. I didn't give them anything. I just showed them what was already there. That's what makes you dangerous. You don't have an agenda. You just want things to be safe. That's rare in this building. Ryan was about to respond when his phone buzzed. Emma's school again, but not Miss Henderson this time. The front office. Mr. Carter, this is Linda from the school office. Emma's fine, but she's in the nurse's office with a stomachache. Can you come get her? Ryan was already standing. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He made it in 12, parking illegally and jogging into the school building. The nurse's office was near the front entrance. Emma sat on the exam table, looking small and pale, clutching her stuffed bear. Daddy! Hey, baby girl, what's wrong? My tummy hurts, and I threw up. The nurse, a kind woman in her 50s, gave Ryan a sympathetic look. Probably just a stomach bug. Nothing serious. But she should go home and rest. Ryan signed Emma out and carried her to the truck. She was heavier than she'd been 6 months ago, growing up despite his best efforts to keep her small and safe. At home, he settled her on the couch with a blanket and a bowl nearby just in case, turned on her favorite cartoon, brought her water and crackers. Daddy? Yeah, baby? Are you mad I got sick? Why would I be mad? Because you had to leave your important job. Ryan sat beside her on the couch. Emma, you're more important than any job. Always. You get sick, I come get you. That's the deal. But what about the robots? The robots can wait. You can't. She snuggled against him, bear clutched tight. I like when you're home. Me too. Even though we're poor? Ryan felt his chest tighten. We're not poor, baby. Miss Henderson says some kids don't have enough money. I thought maybe we were some of those kids. We had less money before. We have more now. But even when we had less, we were doing okay. Because you fixed air conditioners? Because I worked hard and we were careful with what we had. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, Daddy, if you got rich, would you still pick me up from school? Every single day. Promise? Promise. She fell asleep around 2:30, curled up against his side. Ryan worked one-handed on his laptop, answering emails from the engineering team, reviewing protocol updates, trying to focus while Emma's small, warm weight reminded him why none of this mattered as much as she did. Natalie called at 4:15. Patricia said Emma got sick. Is she okay? Stomach bug. She's sleeping now. Do you need anything? I can have someone bring soup or... We're fine, thank you. A pause. You left a meeting to get her. Yeah. Good. That's... good. I'm glad you did. Were you worried I wouldn't? No, I was worried you'd feel guilty about it, like you were letting the team down. I'm not. I know, but I wanted to make sure you knew that I know. Ryan smiled despite everything. That's a lot of knowing. I'm serious. Emma comes first, always. That's not negotiable. It's why I hired you. You hired me because I found thermal faults. I hired you because you're a person who prioritizes the right things. The faults were just evidence. They talked for a few more minutes. About the investigation, about the protocol rollout, about whether Ryan needed anything for Emma. After they hung up, Ryan looked down at his daughter, still sleeping, still small, still his entire world compressed into 47 pounds of stubborn will and unconditional love. His phone buzzed, text from Daniel. Robert Chen wants to buy you lunch tomorrow, says he has ideas for Vehicle 8. Should I tell him you're available? Ryan typed back. Tell him Tuesday. Tomorrow, Emma might still be sick. The response came immediately. Will do. Hope she feels better. Emma woke up around 6 o'clock, feeling better but tired. Ryan made her plain rice and let her watch another cartoon. They ate together on the couch, her curled under one arm, him trying to eat with chopsticks one-handed. Daddy? Yeah? When the robots are fixed, can I see them? Maybe, if Ms. Brooks says it's okay. She's the fancy lady who was mean to you? She wasn't mean, she just didn't understand yet. Does she understand now? Yeah, I think she does. Good, because you're smart and people should listen to you. Ryan pulled her closer. Where do you get this stuff? I pay attention, like you taught me. That night, after Emma was asleep in her bed, Ryan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open, not working, just thinking about everything that had changed in 5 weeks: the job, the salary, the respect from engineers who dismissed him a month ago, the partnership with Natalie that was becoming something he couldn't quite define but valued more than he expected, the investigation into Victor that would require Ryan to testify, to defend his findings, to relive Sarah's death in front of lawyers who'd use it against him, the vehicles waiting to be fixed, the protocols waiting to be implemented, the lives waiting to be saved by work that felt important for the first time in 3 years. His phone buzzed. Natalie, at 10:47 p.m. "Are you working?" "No, just thinking." "About?" "Everything. This job. Victor's accusations. Whether I'm actually qualified to do what I'm doing or just good at faking it." "You're qualified. Stop doubting yourself." "Easy to say." "Ryan, you literally wrote the industry standards most manufacturers use. Your protocols are taught in engineering schools. You investigated the Nevada fire that changed federal safety regulations. You're not faking anything." "That was before. Before you lost your wife and spent 3 years raising Emma alone while working maintenance jobs to pay rent." "Yeah, I know. You keep saying that like it's a weakness. It's not. It's proof you can handle things that would break most people." Ryan was quiet. "I mean it," Natalie continued. "Victor's going to try to use your grief against you. Make it seem like you're damaged, unreliable, overcautious because of trauma. Don't let him. What happened to Sarah doesn't make you weak. It makes you careful, and careful is exactly what this company needs." "I miss her," Ryan said quietly. "Every day, every hour. Sometimes I forget for a minute, and then I remember and it hits me all over again." "I know." "How could you know?" "Because I see it in your eyes every time someone mentions her. This shadow that passes over your face like you're somewhere else for a second." Natalie paused. "I don't know what that feels like. I've never lost someone like that. But I recognize pain when I see it, and I recognize strength too. You've got both." They talked until almost midnight, about grief, about Emma, about the impossibility of balancing work and parenthood, about how life never gave you the challenges you were prepared for, only the ones you had to figure out as you went. When they finally hung up, Ryan sat in the quiet kitchen feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not quite happiness. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. The foundation settling into place. The first hint that life might be more than just survival. Emma called out from her bedroom. "Daddy?" Ryan went to her. "What's wrong, baby girl?" "Nothing. Just making sure you're still here." "Always." "Promise?" "Promise." She fell back asleep. Ryan stood in her doorway for a while, watching her breathe, reminding himself that this was what mattered. Not Victor's accusations, not the investigation, not even the vehicles waiting to be fixed. Just Emma. Safe and warm and growing up in a world that Ryan was doing his best to make a little bit safer. It would have to be enough. And maybe, just maybe, it was. Emma's stomach bug lasted 2 days. By Wednesday morning, she was bouncing around the kitchen demanding pancakes and asking if she could go back to school because she missed her friends. Ryan made the pancakes, burned the first one, got the second batch mostly right. "These are good, Daddy. They're edible. There's a difference. I like edible." Thursday came faster than Ryan expected. At 1:45 p.m., he walked into Emma's classroom carrying a box of electrical components he'd borrowed from Sterling Apex's supply room and a nervous energy he hadn't felt since his first college lecture. 23 6-year-olds stared at him with the kind of attention span that measured in seconds, not minutes. Miss Henderson saved him. "Class, this is Mr. Carter, Emma's dad. He's going to teach us about electricity." "Are you a teacher?" a boy in the front row asked. "No, I'm an engineer." "What's an engineer?" "Someone who builds things and fixes things." "My dad fixes cars. Is he an engineer?" "If he understands how the cars work, yeah, kind of." Ryan spent the next 40 minutes showing them how batteries and wires and light bulbs work together to make circuits. He kept it simple, kept it visual. Let them touch the components and connect the wires themselves. Emma beamed from her desk, helping her classmates when they got stuck, explaining concepts in 6-year-old language that made more sense than Ryan's technical descriptions. "See? The electricity goes through the wire like water through a hose. If there's a hole, it leaks out." "Does electricity leak?" another kid asked. Not exactly, Ryan said. But if there's a break in the wire, the electricity can't complete the circuit. Like if you cut a hose in half, the water stops flowing.
What if you touch it? Do you die? Not from these batteries. They're too small. But bigger electricity, like what's in your walls at home, can hurt you. That's why you never stick things in electrical outlets. 23 heads nodded with the kind of solemn understanding that suggested at least half of them had already tried it. After the demonstration, Miss Henderson pulled Ryan aside while the kids cleaned up. That was wonderful. They actually paid attention. They're good kids.
They are. And Emma's lucky to have you. She paused. She told the class her dad saves lives with robots. Is that true? Ryan thought about Tyler Brennan, about the compressed wire, about all the hypothetical victims who'd never know how close they'd come. I try to make sure robots don't hurt people. Not quite the same thing. It is to Emma. She's very proud of you. That night, Emma couldn't stop talking about the class demonstration. Everyone thought you were so smart, Daddy. Marcus said his dad doesn't know anything about electricity. And Sarah said her dad works at a bank, which is boring, but you're not boring. Thanks, baby girl. Can you come to class again? Maybe teach us about robots? Maybe. We'll see. Friday brought the moment Ryan had been dreading for 2 weeks. The formal deposition for the board's investigation into Victor Lang. Patricia had prepared him, told him what to expect. The lawyers would be professional but aggressive. They'd question everything, his credentials, his methodology, his mental state after Sarah's death. They'd try to find inconsistencies, try to make him doubt his own findings. Just tell the truth, Natalie had said the night before. The data backs you up. The evidence is solid. They can't touch that. They can try. Let them. You've survived worse. The deposition took place in a conference room Ryan had never seen before. Top floor. Windows overlooking Detroit. A long table with too many chairs and too many lawyers. Victor sat at one end with his legal team. 3 attorneys in suits that cost more than Ryan's truck. Victor looked older than Ryan remembered. Tired. Angry. The board's attorneys sat opposite. 2 lawyers who introduced themselves with names Ryan immediately forgot. They had recording equipment, stacks of documents, the kind of preparation that suggested they took this seriously. Ryan sat between Natalie and Daniel. Patricia had offered to attend, but there wasn't room. The lid board attorney started with basic questions. Ryan's background, his education, his work history, everything designed to establish credibility. Then Victor's lawyer took over. Mr. Carter, you've testified that you found multiple safety faults in Sterling Apex's production vehicles. Is that correct? Yes. And these findings were based primarily on readings from a thermal imaging device you purchased at a pawn shop for $40? The scanner was one tool. I also used visual inspection, sensor log analysis, and physical verification of components. But the initial detection came from the $40 scanner. Yes, a device designed for home use, not industrial applications. A device that detected faults your $2 million system missed. Victor's lawyer didn't like that. Mr. Carter, isn't it true that you left your previous career as a safety engineer 3 years ago following a traumatic personal loss? Ryan felt Natalie tense beside him, felt his own chest tighten. I left to raise my daughter after my wife died, yes. And during that time, you worked various maintenance jobs, fixing air conditioners, repairing refrigerators. Would you say that represents a significant step down from your previous position? I'd say it represents different priorities. You went from being a senior safety engineer at Titan Automotive to fixing cooling systems for $200 a day. That's not a career transition. That's a career collapse. Objection, the board's attorney cut in. Relevance? I'm establishing Mr. Carter's state of mind, whether his judgment might be impaired by personal trauma. Ryan kept his voice level. My wife died in a car accident caused by a drunk driver. I spent 6 weeks in the hospital. When I got out, I had a 2-year-old daughter and no support system. I could either continue a career that required 60-hour weeks and constant travel, or I could be the parent Emma needed. I chose Emma. That doesn't make me impaired. It makes me a father. But you abandoned a prestigious career, so I didn't abandon anything. I traded one responsibility for another, and I'd make the same choice again. Victor's lawyer switched tactics. Let's talk about your findings. You claim Vehicle 2 had a compressed power cable that could have caused catastrophic failure. Yet our engineering team found no evidence of active compression during their inspection, because the compression was in a location your inspection protocol didn't cover, between the battery housing support bracket and the frame rail. Your engineers weren't looking there. Or perhaps the compression you detected was within normal manufacturing tolerances, and your interpretation was overly cautious. The insulation was stressed to the point of visible deterioration. That's not within tolerance. That's a fault waiting to happen. In your opinion, based on 15 years of experience investigating battery thermal events. Yes, in my professional opinion. The lawyer pulled up a document on the screen. Vehicle 2's original diagnostic report. This report, completed by certified engineers using industry-standard equipment, shows all systems nominal. No faults, no warnings. How do you explain that? The sensors weren't looking in the right place. I've already explained this. Or your $40 scanner gave you a false positive and you built an entire theory around equipment error. Ryan pulled out his phone, opened his photo gallery, found the image he'd taken during the initial investigation. This is the cable after we removed the panel. You can see the thermal stress marks, the compression damage, the deteriorated insulation. That's not equipment error. That's physical evidence. Victor's lawyer studied the image. This photo could have been taken anywhere. There's no way to verify it's actually from Vehicle 2. The timestamp matches the inspection date. The component serial numbers are visible in the frame. And Daniel Reeves was present during the entire investigation. He can verify everything. All eyes turned to Daniel. He nodded. Everything Ryan just said is accurate. I was skeptical at first, but when we removed the panel, the damage was exactly where he said it would be, exactly as severe as he predicted. Victor's lawyer wasn't done. Mr. Carter, you've also accused my client of falsifying inspection records. That's a serious allegation. I didn't accuse him. I presented evidence of inspection documents signed off before critical systems were tested. The timestamps speak for themselves. Timestamps that could be explained by administrative errors, data entry mistakes, system glitches. 5 vehicles, same pattern, same impossible sequence of events. That's not a glitch. That's deliberate. Or it's a conspiracy theory built by someone who's predisposed to see malice because of personal trauma. Natalie's voice cut through the room like a blade. Careful, you're very close to crossing a line. I'm establishing relevant context about Mr. Carter's judgment. You're trying to weaponize his wife's death to discredit findings that are supported by physical evidence and expert testimony. That's not context. That's character assassination. The board's lead attorney intervened. Ms. Brooks is correct. Mr. Carter's personal history is not relevant to the factual questions at hand. Let's move on. Victor's lawyer tried a different approach. Mr. Carter, when you first approached the engineering team with your concerns, you were dismissed, correct? Yes. By multiple experienced engineers who believed their diagnostic systems were more reliable than your handheld scanner. Yes. And by Ms. Brooks herself, who told you to return to fixing air conditioners. Ryan glanced at Natalie. She looked uncomfortable but didn't interrupt. That's what happened. Yes. So the entire engineering team, including the CEO, initially disagreed with your assessment. Until I proved I was right. Or until you convinced them through persistence rather than evidence. The evidence convinced them. I just made them look at it. The deposition continued for another 90 minutes. Victor's lawyers probed every finding, questioned every conclusion, tried to find holes in Ryan's methodology. But the data held. The thermal imaging matched the physical evidence. The inspection timestamps couldn't be explained away. The component failures were real and documented. By 4:30, Victor's legal team was running out of questions. The board's lead attorney stood. I think we have what we need. Mr. Carter, thank you for your testimony. Mr. Lang, we'll be in touch with our findings. Victor didn't move, just sat there, staring at Ryan with an expression somewhere between hatred and desperation. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yeah, Ryan said. It is. Outside the conference room, Natalie pulled Ryan aside. You okay? Define okay. You just spent 3 hours being interrogated by lawyers who tried to use your wife's death against you. Most people would be falling apart. I'm used to things falling apart. You learn to function through it. Natalie looked at him for a long moment. I'm sorry for what I said that first day. about fixing air conditioners. I was cruel and dismissive and everything I accused Victor of being. You didn't know. I should have. I should have listened instead of judging. Should have trusted your expertise instead of your appearance. She paused. I've thought about that moment a lot. About Emma watching me dismiss her father. About how close I came to putting my pride ahead of a child's safety. You made it right. Did I? Or did I just stop making it worse? Ryan didn't have an answer for that. They stood in the hallway while people filed past. Engineers heading home. Administrators finishing their day. The normal rhythm of a company that had almost destroyed itself through arrogance and was slowly learning to do better. The board's going to rule in our favor, Natalie said. The evidence is overwhelming. Victor's done. And then what? Then we finish fixing the vehicles. We launch the program properly. We put safe emergency transport vehicles in hospitals that need them. We do what we should have done from the beginning. That simple? Nothing's simple. But we have a shot at doing this right now. That's more than we had 2 months ago. Ryan checked his watch. 4:47. Emma's school let out at 3, but she was at after-school care today because Ryan knew the deposition might run late. I need to get Emma. Go. And Ryan, thank you for standing up to them, for not backing down, for being everything this company needed even when we didn't deserve it. Ryan nodded and left before the emotion in Natalie's voice could make him emotional too. Emma was waiting in the aftercare room, coloring a picture of what might have been a dinosaur, or might have been a truck, or might have been something only 6-year-olds could properly identify. Daddy, you're late. I know, baby. Work ran long. Did you fix the robots? Getting closer. In the truck, Emma chattered about her day, about the book Miss Henderson read, about how Marcus brought cookies for snack time and shared one with her, about normal 6-year-old concerns that had nothing to do with depositions or investigations or lawyers trying to destroy her father's credibility. Ryan listened and drove and felt the tension slowly drain out of his shoulders. At home, he made spaghetti that was only slightly overcooked. Emma set the table without being asked. They ate together while she told him about a game they'd invented at recess that involved complicated rules no adult could possibly understand. Daddy? Yeah? Are you sad? No, baby. Why? You have your sad face. The one you get sometimes when you think I'm not looking. Ryan put down his fork. I'm not sad, just tired. From the robots? From everything. But good tired, the kind that comes from doing something important. Emma considered this. Miss Henderson says important work is hard work. Miss Henderson's very smart. Are you done with the hard work? Almost. Few more weeks. And then will you be happy? The question hit harder than Victor's lawyers had managed all afternoon. I'm happy now, Ryan said, because I have you. But not happy, just regular happy. What's the difference? Happy is when you smile for real, not the smile you do to make me feel better. The real one. Ryan looked at his daughter, 6 years old and already seeing through him with the kind of clarity that made him wonder who was raising whom. I'll work on the happy smile, he said. Okay? Okay. I'll help. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan's phone rang. The board's lead attorney. Mr. Carter? We've completed our preliminary analysis. The evidence supports your findings completely. Mr. Lang's termination will stand. We'll be recommending criminal charges for the falsified inspection records. Criminal charges? He knowingly signed off on unsafe vehicles, put lives at risk. That's not just a firing offense, that's fraud, reckless endangerment, possibly more depending on what the district attorney's office decides. Ryan sat down. I didn't want to destroy the man's life. You didn't. He did that himself. You just made sure he couldn't take anyone else down with him. After they hung up, Ryan sat in the quiet kitchen thinking about Victor, about how easy it was to convince yourself that shortcuts were acceptable, that timelines mattered more than safety, that the ends justified the means right up until someone died, and the means became evidence. His phone buzzed. Natalie, you heard? Yeah. How do you feel? I don't know. Not happy, not vindicated, just tired. Victor made his choices. You just documented them. He's going to lose everything. Career,
reputation, probably go to prison. He put children at risk to meet a production deadline. That's not a mistake, that's a choice. Actions have consequences. Ryan knew she was right, but it didn't make him feel better about being the catalyst. They talked for a while, about the investigation results, about the production timeline, about trivial things that neither of them cared about, but both needed to discuss because the alternative was acknowledging how much everything had changed. "Ryan," Natalie said finally, "thank you for having the courage to do what was right even when it was hard. Not everyone would have. Most people would have. No. Most people would have looked the other way, trusted the systems, accepted the official story. You didn't. That matters." After they hung up, Ryan went to Emma's room, stood in the doorway watching her sleep like he had 1,000 times before. She looked peaceful, safe, completely unaware that her father had just helped send a man to prison and saved lives that would never know they'd been in danger. The world Emma inhabited was small and simple. School, friends, coloring books and stuffed bears, and whether the cereal had marshmallows. The world Ryan inhabited was complicated and heavy. Safety protocols and legal depositions, and the weight of knowing that every decision could mean life or death for people he'd never meet. But somehow these worlds overlapped. Somehow he managed to exist in both. Somehow Emma stayed innocent while Ryan carried the burden of making sure she could. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't what he'd planned, but it was working. And maybe that was enough. 6 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning in late May, Sterling Apex Technologies held its second public demonstration of the autonomous rescue vehicle. The original venue had been the corporate headquarters with media crews and investors and the kind of spectacle that Victor had envisioned. But Natalie had different ideas. "We do this at a hospital," she'd said, "with real paramedics, real emergency staff, the people who will actually use these vehicles. That's our audience." So they assembled at Detroit Memorial Hospital's emergency department. Smaller crowd, less flash, more substance. Ryan stood off to the side with Emma, who'd been given special permission to skip school for the day. She wore her best dress, the one they'd bought 2 weeks ago when Ryan's first real paycheck had cleared and he'd realized they could afford things like new clothes without checking the bank balance first. "Is that the robot, Daddy?" "That's the robot." The vehicle sat in the hospital's ambulance bay, gleaming in the morning sun. Redesigned, retested, rebuilt from the ground up using protocols Ryan had helped develop and engineers who now understood that expensive equipment was only as good as the people using it. Vehicle 7, the only one from the original production run that had passed every safety check, the template for everything that came after. Natalie stood near the vehicle with hospital administrators, paramedics, and the kind of people who actually understood what this technology meant. No investors, no media circus, just professionals who would trust their lives to this machine. And standing with his mother near the front, looking healthier than he had 2 months ago, was Tyler Brennan. Ryan hadn't known Tyler would be here, hadn't expected it. But Natalie had arranged it anyway because she understood symbolism in a way Victor never had. "Is that the boy you saved?" Emma whispered. "I didn't save him. I just made sure he didn't need saving." "That's the same thing." Before Ryan could respond, Natalie began speaking. 2 months ago, we almost made a terrible mistake. We almost launched a vehicle that looked perfect on paper but had hidden faults that could have killed the first person who trusted it. We didn't catch those faults because we trusted our systems more than we trusted judgment. We trusted data more than experience. We trusted expensive equipment more than a $40 scanner in the hands of someone who knew what to look for. She gestured toward Ryan. He felt Emma squeeze his hand. Ryan Carter found what we missed. Not because he had better equipment, because he had better instincts. Because he cared more about doing the right thing than making us comfortable. Because when everyone told him he was wrong, he proved he wasn't. The crowd turned to look at Ryan. He wanted to disappear, wanted to be anywhere but the center of attention, but Emma was beaming beside him, and that made it bearable. "Today we're launching a vehicle that's been tested more thoroughly than anything Sterling Apex has ever built," Natalie continued. "Every component verified, every thermal pathway checked, every safety protocol followed. Not because regulations required it, because we owe it to the people who will depend on this technology. We owe it to patients like Tyler Brennan, who deserve emergency transport they can trust. We owe it to ourselves to do better than we did before." She invited Tyler and his mother forward, helped them into the vehicle's rescue compartment,
showed them the medical equipment, the safety features, the systems designed to keep patients alive in conditions that would kill unprotected humans. Then she activated the vehicle. It moved smoothly across the parking lot, navigated obstacles, demonstrated the autonomous systems that could operate in disaster zones where human drivers couldn't go, returned to the starting point and shut down without a single warning light or error code. Perfect. Not because the systems were expensive, because they'd been built right. After the demonstration, hospital administrators asked questions. Paramedics examined the equipment. Emergency physicians tested the medical capabilities. Everyone who would actually use this vehicle got to verify it met their needs. Tyler's mother found Ryan near the ambulance bay entrance. "Mr. Carter, I wanted to thank you again, in person this time." "You already thanked me, Mrs. Brennan. I thanked you over the phone. This is different." She looked at Emma. "Is this your daughter?" "Emma, say hello." "Hello," Emma said shyly. "Tyler's inside the robot right now. He's very excited. He doesn't know that you're the reason he's still here to be excited." "I'm glad he's doing better," Ryan said. His last scan showed the tumors shrinking. "The treatment's working. He's going to make it." Her voice broke. "He's going to make it because someone cared enough to check. Because someone wouldn't let them ignore a problem. Because you were there." Ryan didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Emma tugged his hand. "Daddy, can I meet Tyler?" "I don't know if—" "Please," Mrs. Brennan said. "He'd love to meet the daughter of the man who saved his life." So Emma met Tyler. They talked about the vehicle, about school, about normal kid things while their parents watched and tried not to think about how close they'd come to this conversation never happening. Later, after the crowd had dispersed and the hospital staff had returned to saving lives, Natalie found Ryan sitting on a bench outside the emergency department. "You disappeared. Needed some air. Big crowds, not your thing?" "Not really." Natalie sat beside him. They watched the parking lot together. Ambulances coming and going. The perpetual emergency that was a city hospital on a Tuesday afternoon. "The board approved production of 20 more vehicles," Natalie said. "Hospitals in 8 cities want them. We have more demand than we can fill." "That's good." "It is. And it's happening because you wouldn't let us cut corners. Because you made us do this right even when it was expensive and difficult and made people angry." Ryan was quiet for a moment, then, "I keep thinking about all the things that had to go wrong for this to go right. My wife dying, me losing my career, working that maintenance job, being in that building at that exact moment with that exact scanner. If any of those things had been different, Tyler dies." "You can't think like that." "Why not? It's true. Because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to find meaning in coincidence. Sometimes things just happen. The important part is what you do when they do." "Is that what you tell yourself? That Victor just happened and you just happened to hire me and it all just worked out?" Natalie considered. "No. I tell myself I made mistakes, hired the wrong person, built the wrong culture, almost killed a child because I was too arrogant to listen. And then I tell myself I did the hardest thing I've ever done, which was admit I was wrong and fix it. That's not coincidence. That's choice." "Fair enough." They sat in comfortable silence. Emma appeared from inside the hospital, chattering with Tyler about something only 12-year-olds and 6-year-olds found fascinating. "She's a good kid," Natalie said. "She is. You're a good father." "I'm trying. That's all anyone can do." Ryan looked at Natalie, really looked at her, not as the CEO who'd dismissed him, not as the boss who'd given him a second chance, just as a person who'd made mistakes and learned from them and was trying to do better. "Thank you," he said, "for listening, for trusting me, for choosing safety over timelines. A lot of CEOs wouldn't have. A lot of CEOs don't have someone like you telling them the truth. I got lucky." "We both did." Emma ran up, breathless and happy. "Daddy, Tyler says when he grows up he wants to build robots like you. I told him you're an engineer and that's really hard, but he says he's smart enough." "I'm sure he is," Ryan said. "Can we get ice cream, please? Tyler's mom said they're getting ice cream, and can we go too?" Ryan looked at Natalie. She smiled. "Go. You've earned it. I'll see you tomorrow for the production review meeting." "I'll be there." "And Ryan, bring Emma to the office sometime. Let her see what her father built. I think she'd like that." So Ryan and Emma got ice cream with Tyler and his mother. They sat at a small shop near the hospital and talked about normal things. School, summer vacation, whether chocolate or vanilla was objectively better, kid debates and parent supervision, and the kind of ordinary afternoon that felt extraordinary because everyone at that table had almost not been there. Driving home, Emma fell asleep in the passenger seat with chocolate ice cream on her dress and a smile on her face.
Ryan drove carefully, watching the road, thinking about everything that had changed since that cold morning 2 months ago when he'd driven to Sterling Apex to fix an air conditioner. The job he'd found, the respect he'd earned, the lives he'd saved without most of them ever knowing they'd been in danger. The partnership with Natalie that had grown into something he valued more than the paycheck. The friendship with Daniel and Robert and Mitchell and all the engineers who'd learned to trust him because he'd proven he deserved it. The way Emma talked about him now, with pride instead of worry, with excitement instead of concern that they didn't have enough money. It wasn't the life he'd planned, wasn't the life he'd had with Sarah, wasn't perfect or complete or everything he'd lost, but it was good. And standing in Emma's bedroom that night, watching her sleep with her stuffed bear and her chocolate-stained dress in the laundry basket, Ryan finally understood what Natalie had meant about choices versus coincidence. He'd lost Sarah, lost his career, lost everything that defined him, but he'd chosen to keep going, chosen Emma over ambition, chosen to trust his instincts when everyone dismissed him, chosen to speak up when silence would have been easier. And those choices had led here. To a daughter who was safe and healthy and growing up knowing her father would always choose her first. To work that mattered. To a life that wasn't perfect but was finally, genuinely good. The $40 scanner still sat on Natalie's desk. She told him she was keeping it there permanently. A reminder that the most valuable things weren't always the most expensive ones. That judgment mattered more than equipment. That sometimes the person everyone underestimated was exactly the person you needed. Ryan didn't need the reminder. He carried it with him every day, in every choice he made, in every decision that prioritized Emma's safety and happiness over everything else. Because that's what being a father meant. That's what being human meant. Making the hard choices, speaking up when it mattered, trusting yourself when everyone else doubted you. And sometimes, if you were lucky, those choices saved lives. Tyler Brennan would grow up, would beat his cancer, would maybe become an engineer himself, would live a long life without ever fully understanding how close he'd come to losing it. That was okay. That was how it should be. The people who got saved didn't need to carry the weight of their near misses. That was the burden of the people who did the saving. The knowledge that split-second decisions and $40 scanners and the courage to speak up when everyone wanted you silent made the difference between tragedy and Tuesday afternoon ice cream. Ryan could live with that burden. Had been living with it for 3 years, really. Ever since the night a drunk driver crossed the median and took Sarah and left him with a 2-year-old daughter and a choice about what kind of father he wanted to be. He'd chosen to be present, to be there, to prioritize Emma over everything else. And somehow, impossibly, that choice had led him back to work that mattered, and people who respected him, and a life that felt like living instead of just surviving. 3 months later, Sterling Apex launched their 7th production vehicle. Hospital administrators from across the country attended. Media covered it properly this time. Tyler Brennan rode in the first public demonstration with a smile that made his mother cry happy tears. Ryan watched from the sidelines with Emma, who decided she wanted to be an engineer when she grew up, because engineers save people, and that's important. Natalie found them after the ceremony. The board wants to make your position permanent. Full VP of Safety Engineering, stock options, the whole package. I already have a permanent position. I know, but they want to make it official. Put you on the executive team, give you authority over all production decisions. Ryan looked at Emma, who was watching the vehicle with wide-eyed wonder. Can I still pick her up from school every day at 3? That's non-negotiable. I already told them. Then okay, but I want it in writing. Emma comes first, always. Already in the contract. 6 months after that, Victor Lang was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for fraud and reckless endangerment. Ryan didn't attend the sentencing, didn't need the closure, didn't feel vindicated or victorious. Just sad that it had come to that. Sad that someone had chosen timelines over lives and now had to live with the consequences. But mostly, he didn't think about Victor at all. Was too busy with Emma's school projects and production reviews and the quiet, ordinary life he'd built from pieces of a broken one.
A year after the first demonstration, Sterling Apex's autonomous rescue vehicles had saved 43 lives in documented incidents. Fires, building collapses, chemical spills, disasters where human responders couldn't safely operate but the vehicles could. 43 people who went home to their families because a single father with a $40 scanner had refused to stay quiet when everyone told him he was wrong. Ryan kept a list of their names on his laptop. Not for pride, not for validation, just to remember why it mattered, why speaking up was worth the risk, why doing the right thing was always worth it even when it was hard. Emma found the list once while doing homework at the kitchen table. "Daddy, who are these people?" "People who are alive because someone checked to make sure the robots were safe." "Because of you?" "Because of a lot of people doing their jobs right." "But you started it." Ryan pulled her into a hug. "Yeah, I guess I did." "I'm proud of you, Daddy." "I'm proud of you too, baby girl." "Why?" "I didn't save anyone." "You save me every single day, just by being you." That night after Emma was asleep, Ryan stood in his kitchen with a cup of coffee and looked around at the life he'd built. The apartment was bigger now, better neighborhood. Emma had her own room with actual furniture instead of hand-me-downs. The refrigerator worked properly. The truck had been replaced by something that didn't require weekly repairs. But the important things were the same. Emma's drawings on the refrigerator, her stuffed bear on the counter, the quiet knowledge that when she woke up in the morning, her father would be there. That's what mattered. Not the money, not the title, not even the lives saved. Just being there, being present, being the father Emma needed and the man Sarah would have been proud of. Ryan's phone buzzed, text from Natalie. "Board meeting ran late. Just got home. Wanted to say thank you. Again, for everything." He texted back. "Thank you for listening. That's what good leaders do. I'm still learning. Me too." "Good. The day we stop learning is the day we become victor." Ryan smiled, put his phone down, finished his coffee. Tomorrow there would be more work, more production reviews, more safety protocols, more decisions that could mean life or death for people he'd never meet. But tonight, Emma was safe in her bed. The bills were paid. The world was a little bit better than it had been yesterday. And somewhere in Detroit, a $40 scanner sat on a CEO's desk, reminding everyone who saw it that the most valuable people were often the ones the world underestimated first. Ryan turned off the lights and went to bed. In his dreams, Sarah was there, not sad, not broken, just proud. "You did good," she said. "I'm trying." "I know, that's enough. That's always been enough." And for the first time in 3 years, Ryan believed it.